Hello, everybody. We are back after lunch. I need to check and see if we are live yet. So give me just a moment. I don't even know if there's anyone here. Oh, we are. We're live. Let me see. Let's go back a little bit. Okay. Caught up on the half an hour or so that we missed, but
Bonasoro, you
here
have
we
a
are.
copy of your report, right?
I do.
Okay. And there's other documents too. You have worksheets and
Oh,
other.
so much,
Right.
Michelle. So much
So
was
if you need
missed this
anything,
morning.
just
We'll
let me
go
know
over it in
and
just a little bit.
we can share
Thank you.
anything you need. Okay.
Okay.
Let me pause this right quick. Okay, so just to recap for everybody, this morning we had the cross-examination of Noonan, which was spicy, and you should definitely go back and watch it. Hi, Cyberchick Boston. Hi, Fly Like Jeff. Hi, Michelle. There's only a few of you in here right now, so I'm hoping some more will come through. Yeah, definitely go back and watch the Noonan testimony in the last video, the last live that I posted. It was fascinating. Oh, good. Hey, Denise, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you saw the earlier stream. I missed most of the direct of Bolsonaro, or I can't remember his last name. But he is a Massachusetts state trooper who is an expert in ballistics. So he's going over how the weapons discharged and all that stuff. And hey, Cuff You. Yeah, go that cross from about with Noonan was crazy. It was kind of awesome too. Lots of inconsistencies. But we are just now back from lunch. So I think I've only missed about a half an hour of it. I guess I'll ask you guys, would you prefer that I go back and start where we left off or just carry on live where we are now? So let me know. I don't know what to expect for the rest of the day. We probably will only have a couple hours left of the trial, um, unless we go a little bit longer than we did yesterday. The judge stopped everything at around 4. So I don't know what to expect after this, but I would think that the prosecution is getting ready to start rounding down their case. Okay, so right now we have 1 vote for live, 1 vote for going back, 1 vote for going back, 2 for live. Um, how about we go back? I think that would make the most amount of sense, and then we'll put it on 1.25 and we'll get caught up. Is that cool with everybody? So we missed, Carr's testimony, I think. Yeah. Alright, let's go back, and we're gonna go playback speed at 125, see how far that gets us.
Vehicle accidents.
So and if we go through the testimony where, like, it's their background and their experience, I'll probably speed it up just a little bit. I think it makes more sense, if that's okay with everybody, if we go back and then get caught up. So we'll go a little bit longer than expected. Alright. There goes Hipster Santa. He is off the stand. He's probably really relieved because he was having a rough cross-examination with Bradel. Yes, the cross was fabulously snarky. I can't imagine. I was trying to imagine what it would be like if Alan Jackson had crossed him. I think that would have been a little bit crazy.
That the testimony about this cause now hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Sound is a little bit weird sometimes. Sometimes it's only in one speaker and
Good morning, Your Honor.
this was the 4th cop on the scene.
Introduce yourself and spell your first name and
There we go with the sound.
Good morning. My name is Officer Stephen Corr.
Corr.
Stephen spelled Steven. Last name is Corr. Corr.
Let's speed this up a
And what do you
little
do for a
bit.
living, sir?
I'm a police officer with the town of North Andover.
And how long have you been doing that?
About 15 years.
Okay. What are your duties and responsibilities now?
15 years.
I'm on patrol 4 to 12 shift. We respond to everything: 911 calls, domestics, motor vehicle accidents. If somebody calls first, we answer.
Put the mic closer to you, buddy.
30th of last year. You were working that day.
Correct.
Okay. At some point in the early evening, did you get a call to go somewhere, or did you get a call that you decided to respond to?
There was a call. We had several officers involved in a document service. I was assisting another officer at the time with an arrest.
Okay, and the document service was a restraining order?
Correct.
Got to get
Fair
my
to say that
Burt's
was being
Bees
served
on.
On Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
Yes,
Okay, did you know where she lived?
I do.
You did?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was about to say I didn't hear your answer, but he repeated it, so you knew where she lived.
I do. Yes, correct.
We're having trouble hearing the gentleman too. If you
Well,
could-
I'm sorry.
There you go. There you go.
Sir, you said you were on another call, correct?
He looks
Correct.
like a
Where else
happy
was that?
fellow.
It was down the road on Waverly Road by the cemetery.
At some point, did you receive information that necessitated your presence at Ms. Fitzsimmons' residence?
After I had cleared that call with another officer, I had saw on the control board in my cruiser that they were getting out at that residence, and I started floating that way prior to receiving
Floating that way.
transmissions.
Okay. And before you got there, did you receive another transmission?
I did.
Okay, what was that?
I believe it was Lieutenant Daly had called off, and in the background, it was just a woman screaming and him saying shots fired.
Oof.
And so did you head that way?
I did.
When you got there, was anybody else outside when you got there?
There was another person in a small red car that had pulled up next to me as I had gotten out. I spoke with her briefly about somebody running down the street with a child.
Had you seen that person running down the street?
I did not, no.
So what did you do after you stopped?
After I stopped, I grabbed my med bag and I radioed up to Lieutenant Daly. I said, "Where are you, sir?" And he answered me on the radio. I said, "Upstairs." I think he said
Upstairs.
Had you ever been in that residence before?
I have not, no.
So where did you go?
I went in the porch on the left side, went in through the front door. I could hear a female screaming. I think I went inside and asked her, "Where are they?" And she said, "They're upstairs." I went upstairs. And there's a weird kind of layout of the house where you come in the front door and the stairs are right behind it.
Okay. Now you said the woman screaming. Was that the woman downstairs was screaming?
Woman downstairs, a living room, family room on the left. Yes,
You went upstairs.
correct.
When you got upstairs, what did you see initially?
I got upstairs. There was a landing way with a left exit and a right exit. There was two doors. I could hear commotion on the right side, so I entered that doorway.
Okay. And who did you see when you entered that doorway?
I saw Lieutenant Daly. I saw Officer Noonan and Officer Houston.
What were they doing?
They were performing first aid, rendering aid to Ms. Fitzsimmons.
At some point, did Officer Noonan ask you to do something?
He did.
What was that?
He pointed right where his hand had been, and he said, "Secure that firearm." And I looked down. There was a firearm sitting on I want to say, a white-looking bookshelf.
Okay.
That was
Down
the
near door?
firearm that Kelsey shot.
Picture right now. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 57. Do you recognize that?
I do. Yes.
And what is that?
That was where the firearm was located on top of that white-looking bookshelf. I guess not a bookshelf, but
This is the room you entered, correct?
correct.
And this is the door you went in?
So just so everybody knows, that bookshelf is
That's where the
right when you
bookshelf
walk in the
is.
door to the bedroom. It's right to the right. So the bed is butted up against that.
Right?
No, I did not.
Okay. So what did you do?
I had gloves on at the time. I picked up the firearm. There was a small black box on the bed. I saw that was an open box where I could store the firearm because I knew paramedics and fire department was going to be coming in there. It's not a huge room, so I wanted to get it out of the way so it wouldn't be trampled, wouldn't be disrupted or anything. I took the firearm. I looked at the box. There was nothing in it. I kind of did one of these motions to make sure there was nothing in it. Put it down. I dropped the magazine out of it.
And what does that mean, dropping the magazine?
Drop the magazine
I
out of
hit
it.
this release button on the side of the firearm. It takes out all the bullets that are in the magazine.
Okay. Bullets stay in the magazine.
The bullets are in the magazine, correct? And then after that, I racked the slide, had it sideways, and I emptied a round out of the chamber into that box.
Okay. So there were a magazine with a number of bullets in it.
Correct.
The one round or bullet was racked into the chamber itself, correct?
Correct.
And then did that go in the box?
That went inside the box.
And what did you do with the firearm itself?
The firearm, I put everything in the box
Okay.
and then brought it outside of the room.
May I approach you?
Mhm.
Yep. I'm gonna show you
Is this too fast for you guys?
a picture. And
A
that's
picture.
to recognize, what that is.
Hold on a second. So this
This is
image
Johnny
on.
Green too, so it's a picture of that.
Okay.
Tell me what it
My
is.
question was, and you just answered it, your movement was whether you wanted me to look at what was on the screen.
No.
All right. So you handed him a photo.
You recognize what that is?
I do.
What is it?
It's
Hey,
the
honey
box that
kid.
I placed the firearm on the ammunition in.
Okay, can you see the firearm, magazine, and the round itself?
Again,
What did you do with the box after you placed the items in it?
like I said, it was a small room. The landing, it was at the top of the stairs. I backed up out of that and I put the box in the corner away where I kind of stood over it, made sure nobody messed with it as the fire department came up and down for medical aid.
I brought right off this picture is the next exhibit.
Any objection? No. Okay. It may be admitted.
Exhibit 80, so mark.
Please.
Anybody know what those little black balls are on Big Head's desk? Oh, it's a gun
Is that
safe.
in the position
I see.
where you had placed the box itself on the landing?
Yes.
It's hard to see what that is. So it's a gun in the magazine.
Until when?
As they were doing rendering aid, Officer Noonan backed out of the room along with Officer Houston and I believe Lieutenant Daly. As she was being removed from the room downstairs, there started to be some issues. I asked Lieutenant Daly, who was standing next to me, I said, "Do you want me to go down and make sure the fire department's all set, put her in the ambulance, make sure nobody interferes with that?" And he said, "Yep, I'll take
Beakers.
the firearm basically stood over it and made sure nobody, after I had left.
Okay. When you initially went
Thanks,
into the room,
Cuff you. I
saw
really
Ms. Fitzsimmons
appreciate
on the
that.
ground, I'm assuming?
She was blocked my view. I could see feet. I assumed that was her. Once everybody kind of moved out of the way and I walked in, I said, what do you guys need for help? They already had a med bag up there, but she was on the backside of the bed.
Where was Officer Noonan after the fire department left?
Standing next to me in the hallway, the landing area, I want to call it.
Did you do anything with regards to him? Did you make any observations?
I asked him if he was good. Just basically me making sure he's okay. Adrenaline's rushing. As I came up the top of the stairs, there was a little glass door on the left, and it looked like there was like a pinhole through it. I thought he might have been shot at, so I asked him, "Hey, did she get a round off on you?" And he basically, I don't know.
Seriously.
Overruled. Only
How many times are we going to talk about this?
It's of marginal relevance. Just to explain the scene. Sure. Cross?
Okay.
Mr. Brito, cross? Yes, take your time.
Hey, Bradle.
Officer Corr, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Now, I'm sure that you memorialized all these important facts you testified to
Oh,
in a police report somewhere.
oh,
No, we didn't generate a police report at that time. No,
I'm not asking if
Why
you did,
not?
I'm asking if you did.
I did not know, sir.
Excuse me one moment. You might go into the
Oh, sorry.
audio only because make sure that the audio gets picked up.
Everything you testified to was not memorialized by you in a police report, correct?
No, I
Weird.
did not read the police report. No.
Now, also, you weren't interviewed until 30 days after this incident, correct?
Interviewed by who?
By the state police.
I don't remember the exact time frame.
Isn't it true
Oh.
that you were interviewed on July 30th?
I don't know the exact date. If that's what you say it is, then I assume you're giving me correct information.
I appreciate that. You were also working with Officer Noonan, correct?
I worked with him as a coworker.
Did you work with him in that time interval?
From when the incident happened to July 30th,
July.
he's on a different shift, but yeah, I do work with him.
And did you speak with him about the case?
I don't recall if we did. I'm sure we had talked at some point about if he was okay.
uh-oh.
Did you speak to him about what happened at the scene? Just yes or no?
At the scene, we did. Absolutely. We were on the same scene.
And did you speak with him in the days following?
I couldn't tell you. I'm sure we at some point talked.
And what about prior to your state police interview?
I'm sure we talked at some point.
So you spoke with him at the scene, spoke with him probably shortly after, and spoke with him prior to the interview as the interview approached. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Nothing further.
I think that contradicts what Noonan said. Said he didn't talk to anybody until before the grand jury.
Commonwealth, you call your next witness.
He just ducked under the camera. He's like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be here anymore. Cyber Chick Boston, I think they all resist answering because they're so worried the defense is going to catch them in some kind of contradiction that it's going to reflect badly on them as police officers. That's my take. But I think also they're very much in support of Noonan and not Kelsey, from what I've been hearing about what's happening in the gallery and outside.
Afternoon.
In a nice loud voice, if you could please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Sure. My name is Detective Lieutenant Michael Bonasoro. Last is spelled Bonasoro.
He's a
How are you
baby.
employed?
I work for the Mass State Police.
And what is your current assignment?
I work for the Firearms Identification Section.
How long have you worked for the Massachusetts State Police generally?
Almost 20 years.
If you could
Whoa.
give us a brief recitation of your assignments within the state police.
All assignments are what I'm doing now.
Start from when you graduated from the academy,
Okay.
briefly.
All right. So I graduated the academy in 2006. From there, was on the road for a few years. Transferred into the Firearms Identification Section.
I think she said a big
Stayed there
loud
for
voice.
Approximately 12 years. Transferred out of there. Went to Narcotics Inspection Unit for a year and a half. Went to the duty office for a few months. Back to Narcotics Inspection Unit, and then
Yes.
to Firearms Identification Section again to work as the executive officer and now the unit commander.
And so how long has your current
I know
assignment
there's
with
a
the
gun in
Firearms
that
Identification
case.
Unit been?
Since I've been back a little over 3 years.
What does the Firearms Identification Unit do?
So we have many responsibilities. So we respond to crime scenes, preserve the evidence, document the scene. We do microscopic comparisons of fired bullets as well as discharged casings. We attend autopsies. We destroy weapons. And we do functionality of weapon certifications.
How
This
many
guy knows
police
what he's
are assigned to
talking
your
about.
unit statewide?
There's a total of 18 of us assigned statewide.
And what are your responsibilities as the detective lieutenant in charge?
Yeah.
So I look at training, make sure we're up to accreditation standards for lab protocols, making sure all of our protocols are in line with the current definitions of mass general laws. I look at different aspects of how we respond to scenes, how we collect evidence, how we interpret evidence, looking at the definitions of firearms, ammunition, semi-automatic pistols, rifles, shotguns, assault weapons, different stuff like
Why
that.
do
So I have a
most
managerial role
Massachusetts
looking
state
at making sure
troopers
everybody has
look
the training
like
that is required amongst them
thumbs,
and
like giant
authorizing them to
thumbs?
do the casework
They're
when
all
they
bald.
have achieved all their training.
And fair to say that you still from time to time respond to scenes yourself?
Yeah, so as of right now, we're down a few supervisors, so I took on the role of going to these more high-profile scenes to observe my other ballisticians, collect evidence, as well as do some of the hands-on work myself.
He's nervous.
Can you briefly summarize some of the specialized training you've received over the years with respect to firearms?
Sure. So when you go into the firearms education, it's a 2-year apprenticeship program. You work with other senior ballisticians. You're looking at casework, seeing how to do the casework, make sure it aligns with the protocols that we have documented. You're doing test fires of weapons, numerous weapons, analyzing ammunition, magazines. You go to armors courses. You go to different conferences to look at the
Looks like
field of
Tommy
marks
Paul,
and
too.
see how these tools are making these markings and how they're transferring over to these discharge casings and projectiles. So it's an ongoing process of different trainings here. It's training from other examiners, see what they've discovered in the field, and making sure you're up to date with all the standards.
Good
The
question.
armors
The
courses that
struggle
you've
is
gone to,
teal.
Have you gone to numerous with respect to the common gun?
I think you
manufacturer
become a
in the
thumb when
United
you get
Yes,
there.
I've gone to several rifle, shotgun, firearm armors courses,
States? Can you estimate how many weapons you've examined over the course of your career?
hundreds,
And how many weapons have you test fired?
over hundreds of them as well.
And do you also have the opportunity to examine ammunition as part of your work in the firearms identification unit?
Yes, looking at the components of ammunition, yes,
And one of the components of ammunition is projectiles.
correct.
And you've examined estimate how many projectiles over the course of your career?
Thousands,
Thousands,
And
we
how
know.
many scenes have you responded to?
hundreds of scenes.
And
I'm going to
have there been
speed
fatal and
up until we
non-fatal
get to
injuries?
the actual
Have you conducted and visited
investigation.
an electrographic examination of ballistic evidence?
Yes, several.
Approximately how many times?
I'd say over 100 cases.
And have you had the opportunity to testify in the courts of the Commonwealth?
Yes, several courts.
And if you could name a few of the courts.
Middlesex Superior District, Suffolk Superior District, Worcester Superior District.
and
What's
say
that?
that.
Yes.
What's that?
Before I ask you specific questions about the case, I just want to ask you some general questions about how firearms work and how ammunition works.
Okay,
Can you
let's listen to
explain
this.
the components of a live round?
So you have several components. So you have the casing that encompasses everything. You have the powder that's inside of it, and then you have the projectile, and you also have the primer. So you need all these components to make ammunition. So all these components combined will make one combustible material. You'll have what's called firing pin. It'll strike the primer. Primer will ignite the powder inside of the casing, which holds everything together. Once the gases build up from the burning of the powder, the projectile will leave that casing.
So the projectile is what's commonly known as the bullet,
Yes.
and the casing is what is often recovered at crime scenes.
It's also referred to as a discharge card casing. So it's been extracted from that firearm.
Is there a way for you to determine whether a round has been discharged from a working firearm?
There is. So you're looking at the tool marks of what's left over on that discharge casing or that projectile. So originally you look at the class characteristics. Does it have the same design features as that firearm? Is in regards to a projectile, is the twist going to the left or the right based on that design feature of that firearm? If it twists to the left, it could sometimes be 6, 5, 4 right twist. So you look at these characteristics, make sure
What?
are in line, and then move forward into what's called individual markings. As firearms are produced, they're produced by tools. As tools are making these firearms, the tools are wearing away. You also have little pieces of metal that get in front of the tools, which will create unique marks. There isn't one firearm that is the same due to the fact that you'll have material that's in front of these cutting edges.
And is it fair to say that when a cartridge is new or from the box, it does not have these particular tool marks you're looking for?
It shouldn't have any of the tool marks. It may have some type of markings, what's called mounted marks on a discharge casing. This is from stamping that live cartridge to indicate what caliber and manufacturer of that live cartridge.
Did you say what marks?
A bunter mark? A bunter mark?
Can you spell that for the court?
It's BUNTER.
And that's the stamp that reflects the caliber of ammunition?
The caliber as well as the manufacturer.
When a casing comes apart from a projectile, does it come out with velocity?
It does.
And are you able to determine anything about where?
Okay, we're gonna speed it up.
Fired based on where a casing or casings are recovered?
You can't really just determine the exact location. It should land in the general vicinity of the shooter, but you also have variables if that casing was kicked or manipulated in some way, or if it deflected off another object.
And I think we just talked about this, but what does caliber refer to?
Caliber is the diameter or length of that casing.
I'd like to talk about a semi-automatic firearm. Are you familiar with those?
Yes.
And how does a semi-automatic firearm work?
So it requires a trigger pull per firing of that weapon. So you pull the trigger, it will cause either a hammer or a firing pin to move forward. It will strike the primer. After it strikes the primer, it will cause an explosion. The explosion is going to cause that slide to go backwards. The extractor is going to extract that casing, which is attached to that slide. It's going to hit what's called an ejector. The ejector is going to extract that discharge casing out of the ejection port, and it's going to continue the cycle. This slide is going to move forward now because it's under spring tension. It's going to pick up the live cartridge that's in the magazine well and load the next live cartridge.
But does the user have to do something first before they are able to pull the trigger and have a projectile fire?
So they have to load either manually or with a magazine. So a live cartridge has to be inserted into the chamber.
And does the slide, or does the slide have to be pulled back?
The slide has to be racked to the rear, yes.
And so the slide has to be rescued just one time before the shot
This
fired.
is
Yes, we have to,
riveting, you
essentially cock
guys.
the firearm. So you have to put some external force on that firing pin or that striker to hold it in place. When you pull the trigger, you're gonna have that transfer bar or that trigger bar, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, let's get a little bit forward because I think that we want to know more about what
questions?
happened.
And again, that's standard procedure for an officer involved.
Okay.
That's Mike. Sorry,
Were you directed to a particular part of the house?
there was a particular part
Okay.
in the top of the stairs where there was a firearm located in a safe, as well as a bedroom where we recovered a 2 discharge casing as well as a projectile.
And did you or someone from your unit or someone from the state police take photographs that evening?
Yes, we had crimes and services photograph the scene.
Oh, look, they did something with a scene. The Massachusetts State Police. They actually photographed
What is crime scene
things.
services?
So their unit in
Who would've thunk?
Massachusetts State Police, they document, they photograph the scene, they videotape the scene to preserve the scene, as well as do prints on firearms casings and so on, as well as footwear impression.
Is this the CERT team?
markings.
May I approach?
Yes.
More pictures. We got more pictures.
Sir, I'm showing you 9 photographs. I just asked that you take a look at those and let me know.
Are you going to show us?
Counsel, Mr. Brady, will the defense be objecting to any of these?
I don't know what council has up there.
Seriously, none of us do.
Perhaps,
I thought I was.
okay. Perhaps when you're done, when the witness is done, if you can show them to Mr. Bradel, and if, to the extent that you were able to mark a few and you can object to a few or all of them.
I don't think they used a snowblower to move the clothes, Mary. I don't think they did it on this one. I think it was a lovely summer day over in North Andover. What are we looking at here? Oh, these are the bullet casings. So I'm interested to know. So obviously when Noonan says that when Kelsey attempted to fire at him and murder him in the face,
Okay, let's
like
have
Bradel
the
said,
mark those individually.
there was no round in the chamber. There was a magazine in the gun, but no round in the chamber, so the gun clicked. Dry fire is what they call it. And then she apparently got up off of her knees, moved backwards, tapped and racked, is what Noonan said. So I'm interested to see if they found, honey kid, if you're still here, if you dry fire a weapon, I'm assuming that means that the bullet, there would be no spent bullet casing. There would be no bullet casing from that gun. It was stuck in the magazine. Is that right? Can you help me out? We're just marking.
Yes, please.
Here we go. Publish it so we can see it.
Do you recognize that picture?
The picture dictates plaque number 3. I believe there was a discharge casing around that vicinity of
Where is it?
plaque number 3.
Sir, what number was that again?
81.
81, thank you.
What?
Is Exhibit 82 a different angle of that same? You're trying to photograph that same discharge cartridge casing?
It
This
is.
is the little round.
Showing you
What?
Exhibit 83. What does picture 83 show?
Discharge cartridge casing with a closer up appearance.
Has it been moved?
I believe it has been moved.
And why would it be moved?
Where it was located, it was kind of in a confined space in the corner of the room.
Why'd they move it?
Showing you Exhibit 84. Do you recognize Exhibit 84?
Yes, it's where a sprint projectile was recovered right above the air conditioning unit inside the curtains.
So that was the shot that Noonan missed her. That was the first shot, it seems like.
Exhibit 86.
I'm sorry, can you just give me one moment? Just catch up.
Okay, so Honey Kid,
Yeah, do you mind putting that
who
back
is
on?
my the weapons expert here. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Honey Kid said she never had one in the chamber in the first place. She inserted a full magazine of 17 bullets. When she racked it, it loaded one into the chamber. But on the first shot, there was no bullet in the chamber and she pulled the trigger allegedly and it clicked. Is that right?
Thank you.
It's a close-up picture of placard number 4 of that spent projectile that was recovered in the curtains.
So it was spent projectile in the curtain.
And showing you exhibit 87. What does exhibit 87 show?
The projectile from placard number 4 that was moved for a close-up photograph.
So it's
Okay.
taken from the air
Thanks, honey
conditioning
kid.
unit and moved for this photograph.
Taken from the curtain and moved on, I believe, the bed, and taken a photo of it.
Showing you exhibit 89. What does exhibit 89 show?
It's where a projectile possibly struck. We looked at the air conditioner inside and to the rear of it. They had a hole consistent with a strike on the outside of that air conditioner. Can't determine exactly, but it appeared to be a projectile strike. And there was another hole on the exterior or the back end of that air conditioner as well.
And that's
Huh.
what exhibit 88 shows.
Yes,
And did you ever find a projectile associated with this air conditioner, the one that struck the air conditioner?
it did not.
So that one,
That one there, is that 85? I'm sorry, 88?
one of those bullets went through Kelsey's chest and there was an exit wound out her back. So either the one in the curtain or the one that went through the air conditioning. I think it's probably the one that went through the air conditioning is the one that struck her.
Detective Lieutenant next showing you exhibit 76. Do you recognize what's depicted in exhibit 76?
It appears to be another discharge cartridge casing by placard number 1.
Another?
And is exhibit 77 a close-up of that discharge cartridge?
It is.
And what did you do with the discharge cartridge casings and the spent projectile that you recovered from the scene that night?
So all pieces of evidence were documented, where they were located by placard number, the time.
I'm not sure if they misspoke here, but Noonan only fired twice. Kelsey never got a shot off other than allegedly pulling the trigger the very first time she got the gun, and there was no bullet in the chamber, so it didn't fire. So there should only be 2 casings, I guess, in the room. Well, one of them went through the air conditioner and out the back, and they never recovered that one. So this is another one. I don't know where this one came from. It's cuff you, wait, how many shots were fired by Kelsey and law enforcement total? As far as I understand it, only 2, and they were both from Noonan's gun. And Honey Kid said Noonan had to be amped with a miss at that range, as well as trained officer of 20 plus years. Yeah, he was questioned about that. That was part of the cross. You know, and also that's why I was saying the prosecution was doing a shitty job in like really diving in deep to his training, because he went through all this SWAT training. He was supposed to be a law enforcement officer who was calm, cool, and collected. He talked about the training where they would do like a bunch of burpees and then have to run and like shoot a target. So they would have to calm themselves. So that it's contradicting his testimony. Okay, sorry.
Of location, who recovered the evidence, and any particular features of that discharge casings, the head stamps or bunch of marks.
So you collected the evidence and documented it, fair to
Yes.
say? And is it, in summary, fair to say that you recovered 2 discharge cartridge casing and 1 spent projectile?
Correct.
Sorry, I was distracted. Can you ask that question again?
Sure. In summary, is it fair to say that you recovered 2 discharged cartridge casings and 1 spent projectile that night?
That's correct.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks, Honey Kid. The casing is the part that stays in the gun when the bullet flies out, and that is what got ejected, what
Did
he's
you
saying.
continue your search
He recovered
of that bedroom?
He recovered from the air conditioner
and
was the bullet itself,
What
the
else did you recover
projectile.
from that bedroom?
I don't believe there was anything else from the bedroom other than the 2 discharge casings and the projectile.
Okay, so 2 discharged casings and 1 projectile, it sounds like. It's kind of loud outside, guys. Maybe close that
Neighbor
window.
room?
Yes. Oh. Let's, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's move forward here. If we're taking a 5-minute recess, hold on, let me just make sure I know where we are. Wait, this looks like the lunch break. Did I go too far? Yeah, I went too far. That's crazy. Looks like he's gonna take that gun out and play with it. Okay, there's the recess. And let's move it forward. Okay.
We're back on record on the Kelsey Fitzsimmons matter. All counsel and the defendant are present.
Okay.
Thank you, Big Head.
Detective Lieutenant, is it true that you took possession of a number of firearms the night of June 30th, 2025?
I did.
And whose firearms did you collect?
There's 2 North Andover police officers' firearms and another firearm that was recovered at the top of the stairs at the residence.
And the 2 North Andover police officers, was that Tim Houston and Patrick Noonan?
Yes.
And the other
And
one
did
was
you
also
also,
an North Andover police officer, and that was Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
Lieutenant Daly's firearm on scene.
I did.
And what did you determine with respect to Lieutenant Daly's firearm?
He had
This almost only happens in Lawrence. But the window's open over here, and, which is what we need for, because of HVAC, but I'm having trouble here. Do you mind closing that?
It's about to get hot in the courtroom.
You're gonna have to repeat those last question and answer.
Damn.
Thank you. Can you repeat that?
I think so. Sorry, what was your finding with respect to Lieutenant Daly's firearm?
he had 1 magazine, so he was fully loaded. There wasn't any unaccounted for rounds.
Fully loaded.
Wait, I'm confused because I thought you took Officer Houston and Officer Noonan is what I wrote down, but is that?
Fair to say you took Officer Houston's firearm and Officer Noonan's firearm.
Correct.
And did you take Lieutenant Daly's firearm?
I did not.
Did you just examine the number of
Why is he blinking so
bullets in
much?
his magazine?
Yes,
Well, she's leading because the judge was distracted by the.
She's
outside
leading
noise,
because
so,
the judge.
And I'll allow you to do so as well, Mr. Grader. So overruled. All right, so now I understand. Thank you.
And sir, I'm next going to ask you if you recognize what's shown in Exhibit 10.
Yes, that is the firearm at the top of the stairs, as well as a magazine with numerous live cartridges in it, as well as 1 loose live cartridge.
Is this the loose live cartridge here?
It is.
Why is there a loose live cartridge?
I'd like to ask you about your major findings in this case.
There we go.
Based on your training and experience,
Hey, Rob.
Did you conduct microscopic analysis with respect to the projectile and cartridge casings that were recovered from the bedroom of Phillipsbrook Road?
I did. So I testified all 3 weapons and conducted a microscopic examination of the class characters, as well as the individual markings that were left behind from the firing process. I was able to conclude that the weapon that was fired by Officer Noonan created the discharge casings that were recovered in the bedroom, as well as the spent projectile that was recovered above the air conditioner.
And were you able to exclude any weapons?
I was able to exclude the other firearms.
What other firearms?
I'd like to change gears.
Houston and
a
Daly?
little and talk about the weapon that was recovered from the black safe at the top of the stairs. Did you do anything with respect to that gun?
I testified that weapon with 2 live cartridges from submitted admission.
And what was your conclusion?
That weapon did not fire the discharge casings, as well as the projectile that was recovered.
So the gun from the black safe was also excluded from the discharge casings and the projectile that were recovered from the bedroom?
Correct.
But did the gun operate?
It did operate, yes.
Was there any problems with its operation?
There was no malfunctions.
Did you bring with you today a box?
I did.
And what is contained within that box?
Did you
It was
bring
the,
with you today?
Glock firearm that was in question.
A
that was
box.
recovered at the top of the stairs.
Is that box packaged in the standard way that the ballistic unit packages firearms?
It is.
If you could open the box and explain what is in the content, what's contained within.
May I assume that someone's made sure that this is safe to begin with?
Actually, I'll do it again, Your Honor.
This guy's like, I don't care.
All right, we have a trigger lock that was provided later. We have the firearm in question. It's safe and empty. There's nothing in the chamber. The slide is locked back to the rear. There's nothing in the magazine well. The weapon is safe and empty. Also, contents of this is you have the 2 magazines that were recovered from
He's
the
out of
vest that were
breath.
downstairs on the first floor of the residence. You have the magazine that was recovered in the safe. It was originally loaded with 16 live cartridges. And you have 2 test fires that conducted using that live ammunition from that magazine, as well as a single loose live cartridge that was recovered in the safe.
Are you going to ask more questions about that? Because I couldn't keep up. Or should I have them repeated?
No, I will ask.
Okay, thank you.
But in the meantime, may the box and the contents be marked for, as an exhibit?
Yeah, let's, we're gonna have to do them individually. I don't want the ammunition to be with the firearm. So let's do that, Mr. Ruane. And also, any objection if he puts, Mr. Bradle, if he puts the trigger lock on there?
No objection.
I don't know, are you able to even?
Objection to meeting either for this. I don't object to any meeting for this kind of stuff.
I would ask that you just wait till
Sure,
put the trigger lock on some of the boards and then.
sure. Thank you.
How about we do the gun in the box and then the rest we can tag in between?
Why are we just figuring this out now, you guys? Like, get your shit together.
Exhibit 90 would be the firearm in a box.
Jesus. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
91 is a magazine runner. 92, also magazine runner.
With the ammunition?
93, magazine ammunition. 94, ammunition, 100.
I want to hope that most prosecutors become prosecutors because they want to
96.
fight for justice for their communities. But sometimes in Massachusetts, I'm starting to think
The magazine that you recovered from the gun.
That's
in
not
the
their
black safe,
motivation.
What was the total capacity of that magazine?
17 live cartridges.
And is that how many live cartridges that weapon can hold?
That's how many cartridges the magazine can hold. So what's called a top-off method. So you load the magazine with the 7 live cartridges, you chamber around, you take the magazine out of the magazine well, and then insert another live cartridge. So essentially the magazine will be fully loaded with 7, and then there will be 1 live cartridge in the chamber.
So you said 7, not 17.
My apologies.
No, I'm asking, that's a question. You mean 7, right? Not 17?
7. The magazine is 17 live cartridges capacity.
17
17.
is the
So-
capacity. Okay.
and then one in the chamber
17
is
the
18.
capacity for the magazine that was recovered from the black box.
Correct.
And so when you add an extra round, what's the capacity for the weapon itself?
So we call it
18.
17 plus 1. So essentially 18 live cartridges.
So getting back to that, in that black box, in this, I'm showing you exhibit 80. Exhibit 80 is the gun, the magazine, and the single live projectile that is contained within the box in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you examined this firearm, how many bullets were in the magazine?
There were 16 live cartridges in the magazine.
And how many live projectiles were in the safe?
There was 1 loose round live cartridge in the safe.
And that is reflected in the 1 loose round cartridge. That's in exhibit 94, is that correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with the term dry fire?
I am.
What's that mean?
So you are cycling the weapon without a live cartridge in the chamber. So all the same steps are going to happen. You're going to cock that weapon. It's going to have that trigger bar or that striker be sent to the rear. It's going to be held in tension by that trigger bar. When you depress the trigger, it's going to...
I have a question, honey kid, if you're still here. Oh, I think you are. If Kelsey grabs the gun, does she have to rack it? This is racking it, right? Does she have to rack it first before she can fire? And if there's no chamber, if there's no bullet in the chamber, even if she racks it and pulls the trigger, that's still a dry fire. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I'm just trying to figure out, because all of these steps, if Noonan is standing in the doorway and he sees her lunge for something, Does she then have to is she then racking the gun before she pulls the trigger? It just seems like that's a lot of steps that he could have stopped her. I don't know. Let me know.
Create that trigger bar to drop. The firing pin's going to move forward through the aperture and potentially strike any live cartridge in the chamber.
And what happens
Hmm.
if there's not a live cartridge in the chamber?
So you'll hear an audible click.
With the court's permission, may Detective Lieutenant demonstrate
Any objection?
No.
Demonstrate with.
a dry fire with no projectile in the weapon at all, no projectile particularly in the chamber?
Yes.
So if you could stand up and demonstrate.
Rob says, I'm wondering if it dry fired because it had not been racked
There's
first.
nothing in the
That's
magazine
interesting.
well, nothing in the chamber currently. So the weapon currently is cocked. You move the slide forward, still in the cocked position. You still have that trigger bar. It's moved backwards. And then when you pull the trigger, you'll hear an audible click because it's releasing that striker. That striker is going to move forward and hit where the aperture where the firing pin would protrude. So you'll hear the click. And in order to reset it, so right now you have a dead trigger, it's not going to do anything.
Hmm.
Again, pull the trigger, audible click. And that's what you'll hear. If you have nothing, if it's halfway, you'll have a click as well. So if it's not all the way chambered, it'll click as well. So what we call it is out of battery. So the weapon is locked to the rear. You'll have the slide forward. Now the weapon is battery. So you have an enclosed live cartridge. There's nowhere for that live cartridge to go when it's fired, but out the barrel.
And then, so the term that you used, battery,
It's out. So once the live cartridge is loaded, that weapon is now in battery. So you have the breech that is right behind that live cartridge. So when you fire that weapon, an explosion is going to happen. So you're going to have the firing pin is going to hit that primer. Primer is going to ignite the powder. Powder is going to build up gases. Projectiles are going to go down simultaneously. You're going to have an explosion, which is going to cause that slide to go backwards. The extractor is in contact with that live cartridge. It's going to rip that discharge casing out. It's going to hit an ejector, which is pretty much a metal rod, and it's going to eject out this ejection port, which is right here. There's an ejector right in there. An extractor is like a little claw that's attached to that rim of that live cartridge or that discharge cartridge after firing and pulling it right out. All one function, and then that slide is going to go forward.
Look at how his hands are
Load that
shaking
slide
so
cartridge.
much.
thank you.
So based on your training and experience, would you hear that click if there was a loaded magazine in the weapon, but no bullet in the chamber?
Yes.
And based on your training and experience, what would happen if the gun was cocked and there was bullets in the magazine and you pull the trigger?
If there wasn't any live cartridges in the chamber, nothing would go off. You'd hear a click, but nothing would go off.
And then how would you get a bullet to go into the chamber?
You'd have to physically, manually load that bullet or push that slide forward to load that live cartridge from the magazine.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No further questions.
I think I'm confused. Okay, Honey Kid said Glocks are recoil operated. That is what makes the slide go back automatically. Got it. Okay. All right, now we're going to cross here. Bradel's going to cross. I wonder if Martha Coakley's
Hello,
going to
sir.
talk to anybody. She's going
Afternoon.
to
Lieutenant Detective Bonasoro, do I have that right?
Detective Lieutenant Bonasoro.
Bonasoro. Nice to
on a
meet you.
Soro.
We have never spoken before, correct?
Correct.
So what's a head stamp on a cartridge?
It's
Good
the indicator
question.
that tells you the caliber and the manufacturer.
Was that something that you took note of for all the cartridges in this case?
Yes.
And and you can look at any of your reports if you like, or anything you need to look at, you can just let me know. Or you can just go right ahead and do it. Do you have your reports with you?
I don't have them with me now.
And let me know when I can show you. In this case, relative to the spent projectiles that you recovered and the loose round you recovered, did you check the head stamps of those?
All head stamps are recorded on all evidence. Yes.
And they're on your ballistics worksheets, right?
Yes.
And if you need to look, just let me know. All the head stamps for all these cartridges were the same, right?
I believe so.
It was Hornady 9mm.
Yes.
And so just out of an abundance of caution, I don't want you to believe so. I want you to look and just tell me. Is that all right?
Yes. That's
I'm pretty sure I'm giving you everything. And if I don't, just let me know.
Nervous. All right, let's
And I have
see.
3 ballistics worksheets here. May I approach you?
Take a look, take all the time.
And then, just so I'm clear, Mr. Bradle, the question is whether all the ammunition recovered had the head Same head stamp?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct,
thank
Your
you.
Honor. So with respect to, actually, I should qualify that a little more, Your Honor. The question was the 2 spent projectiles and the loose round. Do they all have the same head stamp?
The 2 discharge casing as well as the loose live cartridges all have the same Hornady head stamp.
And I apologize, and you just corrected me. I said spent projectiles. That's wrong, isn't it?
Correct.
So I should rephrase that, Your Honor. The 1 live round, live cartridge, and the 2 shell casings all had the same head stamp.
Correct.
Thank you. And I said that right that time, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to retrieve this from you.
Amanda says, I have a weird gun question.
As
Why
a,
would the sister have seen
state
smoke
police
coming from the
detective,
house? Was a window open?
You go to
Guns do
various
smoke
towns
when
and
you fire them. But
investigate ballistics evidence, ballistics issues at various calls, right?
Yes.
And
yeah,
oftentimes you get there kind of well after the fact of the incident, right?
Correct.
And in this case, I know you don't exactly remember the times, but
pause this real quick. So he shot through the air conditioner. I'm assuming that she saw smoke coming from the air conditioner because it was a window unit. So it could have been seeping out through the sides of the air conditioner. But yeah, Honey Kid, I think you and I are on the same page. The air conditioner compressor would be my guess and her guess.
let's break it down a little bit. How long did it take you to get to the scene, if you recall?
Probably over an hour to get there. I was traveling from Maynard.
Okay, so
Maynard.
Maynard to North
I love
Andover.
Maynard.
And it's, was it dark out when you got there, if you can recall?
I don't recall exactly what time I got there.
It's fair to say that the scene was secured and there was no there were no civilians around. It was a crime scene that was in the possession of police.
Safe to say there was a secure scene, yes.
And
Maynard,
you
Massachusetts.
saw colleagues from the state police that are assigned to the state Essex Detective Unit, right?
Correct.
And you also saw some North Andover police officers as well, correct?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that the North Andover police officers were having free reign over that scene when you were there?
I wouldn't call it free reign.
Well, nobody was keeping them out of there, right?
I believe they had a log of who was going in and out, but it's not my responsibility to keep track of who's in the scene.
Certainly
Blah,
not.
blah, blah.
And you oftentimes don't have personal knowledge of what goes with what cartridges from what gun, things like that.
Thanks, Honey
Correct.
Kid. I appreciate
And you
you.
often have to rely on what people at the scene tell you.
Yes.
And then you can also, however, apply your science and figure out to a reasonable degree of ballistic certainty what the relationships of certain projectiles, cartridges, and firearms are, right?
Yes.
And in this case, you don't have any personal knowledge of the chain of custody of these various firearms, do you?
What was recorded in my notes of who I recovered these firearms from is all I
Okay,
can.
well, we can start there and we'll go through it. So
He's getting
you,
nervous.
you wrote a report. And again, if you want to look at this, just let me know. You wrote a report that involved 3 Glock firearms, right?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, it might be quicker, Judge, if I gave him one of these, so I don't have to keep going back and forth with that.
That's fine.
Let's move it along here, guys.
Let me ask, I'm sorry, do you think that was time to break for lunch?
Sure,
And then,
that's fine, Judge. I'll have the paperwork
I'll
for
break
him.
for
and just
lunch.
go without having to go back.
Yeah, maybe,
Okay.
maybe let's do that. So
Thank you.
we'll stay in a recess and let's,
Okay, we're gonna break for lunch, and then I came back, so we're not that far behind. Okay, lunch break is over. Let's get this back down to 125. So the questions that remain, I have a lot of questions actually. I said this before in this morning's stream that Noonan's testimony made me think that what Kelsey did was she dove and grabbed the gun and then got herself backed up around the other side of the bed and was raising the gun to put it to her temple when he shot her. I am pretty convinced that she did not fire at him. But what I I don't know if that's been determined yet in this testimony with a ballistics guy. Um, I don't know if that can be determined. If there was no gun, if there was no bullet in the chamber, then there's no way to determine whether Kelsey pulled the trigger or not, as far as I understand it. I wish Honey Kid was still here. Um, that's the way I understand it. If there's no bullet in the chamber and she pulls the trigger and there's a dry fire, I don't think there's any way to tell if she fired that gun. So, based on what Noonan is testifying to in his version of events, the reason he fired at her is because she was pointing the gun and pulled the trigger in his face. So there was a reasonable degree of danger and death, and so he then fired at her. I mean, Dot said, "Could this be why Justin and his sister kept saying they heard at least 2 shots?" If Kelsey, they're saying that the only sound that would have come from Kelsey's gun when she was pointing it in Noonan's face, allegedly, is that click. They wouldn't have heard the click from outside. I don't know if anyone outside of the room would have heard the click. So when Kelsey backs up and Noonan is saying, "Kelsey, don't do it," or whatever, I'm paraphrasing. He says that the first shot that he took was when he saw her starting to raise her arm. We don't know if she was raising it to put it to her temple or if she was gonna raise it and point it at him. Doesn't seem like he knew, and so the first thing he did was he missed her and hit either the air conditioner or the curtain behind her, and then the second time he shot, he hit her square in the chest and there was an exit wound. So, it seems reasonable to me that the bullet that went through the air conditioning maybe is the one that hit her, just because it's the right height for how tall Kelsey is. I think she's only like 5'2" or 5'3". So there were only ever 2 shots fired, and there should have only been 2 shots that everyone heard, not at least 2, which is what Justin and Courtney, his sister, kept saying. I thought that was really strange too, and like they were trying to act like it was like an active shooting scene where everyone was shooting at each other. Um, so I do think that this makes Noonan's version of events sort of fall apart a little bit. I think, again, it's what I said in the previous stream. I think what happened was he felt extremely guilty that he shot a police officer in the chest. And so in his mind, he needed to start justifying his actions. And I think he's convinced himself of that. And I think a lot of cops would have done the same thing. Um, I hate the way that they're all trying to distance themselves from Kelsey and trying to make it out like she's some hysterical woman, or in the terms of Michael Proctor and Officer Noonan and Chief, apparently, from the Karen Reed trial, a whack job. He called her a whack job to a neighbor of his. And so they were also talking about, before they got there, Justin had escalated this situation. He told Daly, Lieutenant Daly, who set this operation up to go over and deliver and serve the restraining order against Kelsey. He told them in the lobby of the North Andover Police Department that there was a possibility she could shoot the baby right in front of them. That's how high stakes this was. And so when they were meeting in the school parking lot before they went over to Kelsey's house, they were all talking about, okay, we're going to serve her the papers. We're going to have Justin come over and pick up the baby. And then we're going to section her because she, as Noonan put it, had already been sectioned before. Today he's saying they were discussing sectioning her, but it wasn't a solidified plan. So they were going into the situation amped up because Justin had made them think that she was capable of killing the baby, killing herself, maybe killing other people, and that she was going to be sectioned. So they already thought she was having a mental health crisis and that she would need to be sectioned. So the Section 12, if you'll remember from the Karen Reed trial, means that someone is threatening to harm themselves and taking action to harm themselves, which is part of why I didn't think that Karen should have been sectioned, because she wasn't taking any action to harm herself. But Kelsey, again, In this situation, let's say they're going into it and they think that Kelsey should be sectioned. They're going to section Kelsey. They're already predetermining that she is going to hurt herself, right? And I'm not saying she wasn't in that mindset, but they had already made that decision before they saw her demeanor, her, anything. And as far as I understand it, law enforcement officers are not supposed to fire on somebody who is in the middle of a mental health crisis, who might be holding a gun to their head. So it's very complicated. And at the end of the day, the only person who gets to decide whose side is right or whose side is most clear or whose side is most reasonable is the judge in this case. So, Amanda said, "I wish her attorney had brought up that she had been cleared to go back to work. So why would Noonan assume she needs to be sectioned?" I don't think that Noonan was thinking about any of that. I think he was listening to what he was being told by Daly, and that Daly and Houston had met with Justin in the lobby of the North Andover PD, and he and his sister like completely escalated this situation. And they went into it thinking they were dealing with a whack job and a hysterical woman, and they were going to have to like keep tabs on her. I don't understand, having that information, why Daly thought that inviting Justin over to pick up the baby would help in that situation at all. I think that they all made a bunch of bad decisions. And it was conceived by Justin before they ever got there. He had already made 2 phone calls to the North Andover PD and was already telling them, "This situation's getting out of hand. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. She's crazy. She's going to shoot somebody. She's going to kill somebody. She's going to kill the baby." And then he tells them that in the lobby as well that day. And so they're going into this thinking that Kelsey, who had been on maternity leave, had some mental health issues, had her guns taken away from her. Her guns had just been given back to her. She was supposed to start work again. I think it was on July 4th. She was supposed to be on detail on July 4th. And so what they know is that she is a police officer who has been reinstated. That's all that they should have known going into that situation. Justin had way too much access to ramp the cops up going into the situation, in my opinion. Amanda said, "So you think he honestly believed the story he'd been told, I guess?" Yeah, I think so. I assume you're talking about Noonan believing the story he had been told by Justin, I think, right?
I do.
Okay. And there's other documents too. You have worksheets and other items, correct?
Correct.
So if you need anything, just let me know and we can share anything you need. Okay.
Okay.
I wish I had
What is meant
sound in
by
my right.
chain of custody of an item?
Who has actual custody of that particular piece of evidence? It's moved from one location to another, or one person to another.
So as a piece of evidence kind of goes through the investigative process, sometimes it can be important to make sure you know who had it, where did it go, as it goes through, right?
Correct.
And in this case, it's fair to say that you don't have personal knowledge of a lot of the chain of custody here.
I have personal knowledge of who I received the firearms from.
Right. Okay. And we'll go through that. And I'm not questioning, in terms of chain of custody, you and the state police going forward from when you left the crime scene. I want to ask some questions about chain of custody at the scene. Okay. Who did you get? And again, you can refer to your report here. Item 1-1 is a Glock 47, and we'll just use the last 3 numbers of the serial number, 269. Who did you get that from?
What was the item number again?
1-1, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yep. And the last 3 digits of the serial number are 269.
Thank you.
And so that gun, and again, you can look on your papers, anything you want. Do you know who you got that from?
If I could see my notes, the worksheet
Sure.
notes
Yep.
from the crime scene.
Sure.
I hope the judge is seeing through some of this bullshit, though. I mean, I think he is.
Yep.
But the gun stuff is complicated sometimes if you don't shoot guns and you don't understand. I mean, like, I've shot guns before, but some of the stuff I don't understand.
Yes.
So 1-1, take all the time you need. Who did you get that from?
It was received from Detective Lieutenant Michael Davis.
Okay, and who's he?
He works for North Andover.
All right. And do you know whose gun that is identified to from the incident?
Based on the serial number, I was told it was Officer Noonan's weapon.
And are there some notes in that packet you have there from you that indicate that Chief Gray had that gun for a while?
Yes.
And what are the indications that, how did Chief Gray come to get Noonan's gun?
I was told that he had custody of the weapon and he unloaded the weapon at some point, and he put the live cartridge that was in the chamber back into the magazine.
Okay, so Chief Gray is manipulating Noonan's firearm, and I mean the word manipulating in the physical sense.
Chief Gray.
Yes, this is what I
Uh-oh.
was told.
And then it goes to who? Lieutenant Reardon, was it?
Detective Lieutenant Michael Davis.
Davis, sorry. And then Davis gives it to you?
Yes,
And that's just what you have documented, right? You don't have any knowledge of any other people having it, right?
correct.
Presumably Noonan had it since it was his firearm at some point.
Presumably.
And all right, so that's 1-1. And item 1-2.
I'm putting this tweet up from Baker. Let me pause this really quick. Baker says, whoops, 17 bullets in the safe. That means she couldn't have re-racked twice. 16 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. Fucking hell, Noonan lied again. She didn't rack it twice. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Does that make sense to everybody? I know Honey Kid's not here anymore. I'm going to rewind it. Sorry, Cuffy, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll rewind it a little bit so we can hear what he had to say. Chief Gray is a problematic character, let's just say. And he has had some civil suits brought against him for sexism, misogyny, all that stuff in the workplace. If he's fucking around with the gun, I don't like it. But again, what I was saying before is I don't think there's any way Kelsey could have had time to rack the gun when she pulled it from wherever she pulled it next to the door. So 17 bullets in. She couldn't have re-racked it twice. 16 in the mag and 1 in the chamber. There should have been 18 bullets. I'm confused. Is everyone else confused? Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Oh, I gotta do this again. Okay, I will rewind. I know, sorry, I interrupted. I just saw that tweet pop up and it made me feel a little crazy. So, okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, hopefully I went back far enough.
And so you say right in your report from item 1-1. So it's the magazine from Noonan's gun, right?
If I got this right. These would be the notes, right? And this is just another copy of that report.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Same,
1-1,
Jeff, same.
Take all the time you need. Who did you get that from?
It was received from Detective Lieutenant Michael Davis.
Okay, and who's he?
He works for North Andover.
All right.
North
And,
Andover.
do you know whose gun that is identified to from the incident?
Based on the serial number, I was told it was Officer Noonan's weapon.
And are there some notes in that packet you have there from you that indicate that Chief Gray had that gun for a while?
Yes.
And what are the indications that, how did Chief Gray come to get Noonan's gun?
I
I
don't know.
was told that he had custody of the weapon and he unloaded the weapon at some point, and he put the live
Uh-oh.
cartridge that was in the chamber back into the magazine.
Okay, so
Uh-oh.
Chief Gray is manipulating Noonan's firearm. And I mean the word manipulating in the physical sense.
Yes, this is what I was told.
And then it goes to who? Lieutenant Reardon, was it?
Detective Lieutenant Michael Davis.
Davis, sorry. And then Davis gives it to you?
Yes,
And that's just what you have
Uh-oh.
documented, right? You don't have any knowledge of any other people having it, right?
correct.
Presumably Noonan had it since it was his firearm at some point.
Presumably.
And all right, so that's 1-1.
Okay, I just want to,
And
hold on, we're
item
going to pause.
1-2.
He's saying chain of custody was Noonan had the gun. The gun was examined, I guess, on the scene. And at some point, it was handed off to Chief Gray. Chief Gray is the chief of the North Andover Police Department, and he's a little bit of a shady character. If you want to listen to a little bit more information about Chief Gray, I did an episode about Kelsey's case on the In Between podcast, and I talk about some of the civil suits that came. Interestingly, I talked about this on the show the other day. Gerke, who Justin called Katie Gerke, is the woman that he spoke with, who was like, "Oh, Justin, we understand, buddy, and here's some advice. Yeah, no, you're not gonna be in trouble if you go into the house and blah 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 blah." Katie Gerke actually sued uh, Chief Gray over sexism and harassment in the workplace. So it's all very messy, and I don't trust Chief Gray. I saw the press conference when they first announced what had happened here, and the question about, if the cops had body cam, and he's like, "We don't wear them here in North Andover." He's a little bit of a sketch character. So the idea that he had Noonan's gun and emptied the bullets, I don't I don't like that. I don't feel comfortable with that. I wonder what the judge is thinking about that. I'm assuming that he's giving the cops the benefit of the doubt, but eek, 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 eek. What are your thoughts?
Is a box magazine from item 1-1, correct?
Yes.
And it's got 16 cartridges in it, and the capacity is 17, right?
Yes.
And so you say right in your report, from item 1-1, so it's the magazine from Noonan's gun, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then 1-3 is a little different, isn't it?
Yes.
You write there, one removable box magazine from, but then you didn't fill in who it's from, right?
Yes. That was an error on the administrative portion of the report.
Oh, what?
And just so we're clear, this is your report.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So it was never noted where the 1-3 is from, correct? In terms of the gun.
It was noted that it was received from Officer Michael Logan, 1-3.
So he's the chain of custody guy, but unlike 1-1 and 1-2, where you match them up, that the magazine is from 1-1, here it doesn't say where that magazine is from, right?
Well, these were recovered at a later time. I was initially given the firearm with the magazine, and then later on, these additional magazines that were recovered from, I believe, the either duty belt or vest carrier, whatever the officer had.
Okay. And I'm just asking you about what it says. I'm not trying to suggest there's fault, and I just want to go through it with you in terms of what's identified and what's known to be from somewhere and what's not. Okay, so I'm not trying to find fault. I just want to factually have us go through the report. So we don't know where 1-3, the box magazine, is from, what device it's from, right?
I was told it was from either the vest carrier or the duty belt of Officer Noonan.
But that's not.
Okay, I have one question. Sorry to interrupt again. Chris Denton says, makes sense. Every time you rack the slide of a Glock handgun, it takes a bullet from the magazine into the barrel. 2 racks mean the 17 in the magazine would have been reduced to 15. The way that this guy is describing the way these guns were armed, I don't know how else to say it, was that there would be 17 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. If Kelsey didn't have 1 in the chamber, that means that her gun was just the magazine and had 17 in the magazine. Is that what we're saying? And then if she had racked twice, it would have been reduced to 15. So I think that's the answer we're looking for from this guy. And why are we not getting there? That's so strange to me. Okay.
In the report, is it?
It is not.
Or did we and I missed
Same
it?
with 1-4, one removable box style magazine from, and then from is not identified, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the same thing. You got a magazine, and that's from Officer Logan as well. The chain of custody references from Logan, right?
Yes.
Okay. And again, it's not identified in the document where it comes from. Yes?
Correct. Correct.
Then 1-5 is another Glock 47. So it's just to cut to the chase. All 3 guns you have are Glock 47s, right?
Yes.
And that's a semi-automatic firearm that was, to your understanding, issued to the North Andover Police.
Yes.
And each one obviously has its own serial number,
Correct.
but otherwise they look the same.
Yes.
going to 1-7, you have 2 removable box-style magazines that you received, and the chain of custody guy is Michael Logan, but it doesn't say what firearm they were in the vicinity of or near, correct?
So as I entered the evidence, it was associated with the firearm. So as I went to the next firearm, whatever is below that firearm is associated with that firearm. So all evidence below it will be associated with the firearm until I mention another firearm.
Okay, so that's your procedure,
Bad
right?
record
Yes.
keeping again.
Well, it's fair to say, though, that sometimes you do say what it's from, and sometimes you omit it, right?
Yes,
And that's by mistake, right?
yes,
And then you have 1-9, which is another Glock 47. Last 3 serial number is 315, right?
correct.
And that is associated with who?
Is Officer Kelsey
Ms. Officer Fitzsimmons?
Fitzsimmons? Yes,
Okay, here we go.
And then you have a box magazine 1-10, right?
correct.
And you do write from that item in this particular instance, from
Correct.
1-9, from Ms. Fitzsimmons' firearm, right?
Yes,
And then you do 2 removable box style magazines from a vest carrier on the first floor.
yes,
And it's
How
fair
many
to say
bullets?
that after item 1.8 from Michael Logan, that's the last reference to the chain of custody person you received items from, right?
correct.
So from 1-9 to 115, you don't reference who you got the items from, right?
Well, I physically recovered that evidence.
Okay, so you had it
Yes,
from the scene, like from the floor or the bed or wherever?
correct.
Okay, so these are things that you recovered.
Yes,
Then we get to some discharge cartridges and a live cartridge, 1-12, 13, and 14, right?
correct.
And they're all, as we went over, they're all head stamped the same, right?
Yes,
And then you have 115, the last item, is a spent projectile. So like a spent bullet from above the air conditioner.
correct.
And you recovered that yourself.
Yes,
Now, with respect to the live cartridge, the discharge cartridge at 113 and the discharge cartridge at 114, it's fair to say that you applied science. I'm going to just keep it vague for a second. That you applied some science to the 2 discharge cartridge casings, right?
I was looking for agreement of individual markings. Yes,
Right. So you used some science.
yes,
Just to start real basic here. And you were able to identify those 2 discharge casings to item 1-1, right?
correct.
And 1-1, you know to be Noonan's Glock, right?
Yes,
Now, it's fair to say that with respect to the live round recovered from the hallway safe, it's fair to say that you didn't apply any science to that item, correct?
correct.
So there's no science, unlike the other 2, unlike the discharge casing in 114, the discharge casing in 113. Unlike those, the live cartridge, there's no scientific basis for you to say what gun that came from, right?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that there were, and again, I'm not trying to find fault. Nobody asked you to apply any science to that item, right?
Correct.
So there were some various scientific methods that you could use to determine where that came from, right?
There would be some markings if it was actually cycled through that weapon.
Right. One step ahead. That's my next question. If that was cycled through a weapon, you would have what? Breech face markings?
No, you would have what's called extractor markings, possibly ejector markings, as well as you may have magazine marks.
And just to kind of bottom line it, that means that if someone had, if that cartridge was in the chamber of Ms. Fitzsimmons' weapon, and it was made safe by cycling it out, right?
Correct.
Breech face markings or ejector markings or extractor markings would be deposited on that cartridge, right?
Possibly, but not breech face. Breech face markings is part of the firing process.
Okay, so what processes were available to figure that out?
So you could have the extractor mark, which is holding that live cartridge in place. You'd have a magazine mark that came from the magazine, if it was loaded in the magazine, and you'd have possibly an ejector mark. But a lot of times these cycling marks don't show up due to the fact that there isn't an explosion that happened. So it's not a exact way of looking at these markings. So you're looking at a piece of ammunition that could have been cycled, but there's no definitive amount of markings there to determine that unless there was some type of defect or whatnot.
And to figure that out, you got to look at it.
Correct.
And that didn't happen here, right?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Read back? Okay.
Geez Louise, that was complicated. I am still confused. Is everyone else confused? Oh, Houston is coming up. Interesting. I'm just gonna put this on mute for a second. Jenna Lee said, is it possible she put a full mag in the gun without knowing there was one in the chamber? Racked it. A bullet came out due to the racking. Yes, I believe so. Chris, what are your thoughts? I understand work getting in the way. That's what happened to me earlier today. Let's see what's happening over here. I think that's a possibility. I just don't know. I don't know because I don't know enough about how these guns work. What's happening here? Look at Kelsey. She knows when to turn the mic off. She's smart. I like this kid. All right, let's see. See if we can speed this along here. I think we're getting close to being caught up. Here comes Houston. This is the third officer before
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
the fourth officer. I can't think of his name right now. Shut up.
Try to speak up nice and loud right directly into this microphone so the judge can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Sir, in a loud, clear voice, can you please introduce yourself? Spell your first name and
The
your last
key
name.
cycles.
Officer Timothy Houston, TIMO.
Don't tell Rebecca you said that.
And sir, what do you do for a living?
Big head in the high hands.
North Andover Police Department.
How long have you been doing that?
A little over 5 years. Okay.
Sir,
Oh, God, this guy.
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in North Andover
Did you go through the North Andover school system?
up until high school.
And where'd you go?
I was Central Catholic.
After Central Catholic, what
This
did you do?
fucking guy.
I went to Norwich University and got a bachelor's in criminal justice.
After you graduated there, what did you do?
I went to the Army. I was in the Army for 4.5 years, reached the rank of sergeant. And then
Did
came
he
home
get
to
high
North
before he
Andover Police
came
Department.
here?
And so when was that you joined the PD?
I started the academy in November of 2020.
And your rank now, you're patrol officer?
Patrol officer.
Can you tell us a little bit about your duties as a patrol officer?
I worked a 4 to 12 shift. I started on midnights. So I've been on 4 to 12. I think it's my third year. It's basically if you're not answering calls, you're on the road, watching traffic, things of that nature.
I'm going to jump back for a second and just talk about your military service. You were in the Army, you said?
That's correct.
Okay. And what did you do there?
I was a cavalry scout.
And what did that entail?
I mean, I had different positions. The job itself, you mainly focus on reconnaissance. And while I was there, I started as a dismount. Then I moved up to a gunner, and then I was a dismount team leader, and then I was a
Oh
gunner.
my
for
God, he's so
lieutenants
annoyed
in
he
the
has to do
platoon.
this.
That's pretty much it.
Where were you
Let's get
stationed?
through this.
I was at Fort Lewis, Washington.
Now we're going to jump back to the PD. Okay. Do you know a person by the name of Kelsey Fitzsimmons?
Here we
I
go.
do.
How do you know her?
We worked together briefly. I mean, she was in the academy. I can't remember how long she was out of the academy, but she was FTOing for a while, and she was FTOing on my shift. And then she finished FTO, and she worked on our shift for a brief period of time.
FTO, what do you mean by that?
So she was under a
Full-time.
field training officer. So she
Oh,
was
field
riding
training.
around with somebody while she got used to the job and learned.
Did she ever ride around with you?
No, she did not.
Did you know her socially at all?
Yeah.
My God, stop smacking your lips.
I was invited to her wedding. We kept in touch when she went on leave. Tried to keep her in the loop. Spoke with her, kind of, trying to get everybody together before her wedding. Her wedding was a decent amount of time away, and while she was out of work, we obviously didn't see her as much. So we had been working on planning something with some of the guys from work, people bringing their spouses, their dogs, and trying to figure out something, but it never happened.
Their
Did you
spouses
know
and
her
their
fiance?
dogs.
Just I met him at the engagement party. Other than that, I'd see him, on calls if we had the FT, but I don't know him that well.
So I'm going to turn your attention to June 30th of last year. We were working that day.
Yes,
And at some point, did you get in touch by Lieutenant Daly?
yes.
And what was the nature of that communication?
He called me and said,
So pissy.
Justin filed an RO against Kelsey. He wanted me and Officer Noonan to go to the house and serve the RO, which required Justin picking up their baby and confiscating our firearms.
Okay. How
Did
you
not
get in touch with him? Do you
require
remember?
Justin
myself.
picking up the baby.
Did he ask you to do anything
Either way.
in particular about Officer Noonan?
Initially, he told me to drive past Kelsey's house and see if she was home.
Did you do that?
I did.
And you knew where she lived?
Yes.
Did she park in a particular place usually?
So normally, yes, she would park in front of her house if she was home. I found her car 50 to 100 yards down the road, kind of in the school lot, kind of tucked away.
That was 150 yards.
Um,
Isn't that what Noonan
Did you
said?
relay that information to Lieutenant Daly at that point?
I did.
And at the point that you saw her car, had you already talked to Officer Noonan?
After I called Lieutenant Daly and told him about her car being out of, and it parked in a strange way, I called Officer Noonan.
Okay. And what did you tell him?
I said, hey, what's going on? He hadn't talked to Lieutenant Daly yet, so he had no idea what was going on. So I told him to meet me in the parking lot and I'd go over it with him.
Meet me in the
And did
parking
he do
lot.
that?
He did.
Did he get there before Lieutenant Daly did, if you remember?
Yes, he did.
Did you inform him of what was going on?
I did.
At some point, did Lieutenant Daly also meet up with you in that particular spot?
Yes.
Okay. Did you talk about a plan as to how you were going to handle serving the order?
Lip
My only
smacking.
memory is what I updated Officer Noonan with, just the circumstances why we're going there and concerns that we had, but I don't remember what the exact plan was. I think it was assumed that Lieutenant Daly would do most of the talking.
And you said you're concerned.
Not what Noonan said.
We were aware that she had been sectioned before, so obviously it's a tough position for her, finding out there's an order in place, we're taking her firearms, we got to take the baby, give them to Justin. So we thought with her past being sectioned, she might not take that news very well, and we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Had you served restraining orders yourself before?
Yes.
Now, at some point, did you go over to 125 Phillips Brook Road?
Yes, we did.
And the three of you?
Yes.
Did you go in together?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us what happened as you approached the house? And take us from there.
So we parked off to the side of the house, out of view of the house itself. We walked around, knocked on the front door or the side porch door, whatever.
Had you ever been in that home before?
I don't think I'd ever been in the home though.
When you knocked or rang, I'm sorry, I forget what you said.
I don't remember.
Okay. Did someone answer?
Yes, Kelsey answered.
Okay. Did she have the baby with her?
She did.
Okay. So what happened then?
She wasn't sure why we're there. Lieutenant Daly kind of had the paperwork in his hand. She invited us in, and Lieutenant Daly just started explaining why we're there and what was going on.
Where in the house did you go?
So we went into the living room.
Did you remain standing? Was she seated? What happened with the baby? Can you describe what happened there?
So Lieutenant Daly asked her to take a seat on one of the couches. Had her put the baby in like a rocker on the floor, and I stood kind of away from them by another couch.
Okay. Could you hear what they were saying?
Yeah, I can remember exactly what was said. But
What was the gist?
Justin filed this order. She was shocked by it. Lieutenant Daly was doing his best to mediate and tell her this is what has to happen now, but you're gonna have your day in court. Like nothing's we're gonna figure this out.
Did you look around the living room at all?
Yes, I did.
And did you notice something?
Yes. So on the couch I was near, there was clothes everywhere. I could see a handgun case sticking out. And before that, Lieutenant Daly had asked Kelsey where her firearms were. She said they're in the basement. And while they were having that discussion, I saw the handgun case, picked it up, opened it. It was empty. And Kelsey reassured me that they were in the basement.
So that was the second time she said they were in the basement.
Yes.
How soon after you got in there was that question asked about where the guns were, if you remember?
Almost immediately.
That was one of the first questions.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make a quick point here, and I also want to say for the people who are just listening, the struggle is Teal says, am I nuts, or would it have made more sense to send some officers over that didn't have these kind of connections in history with her? And the answer to that is yes. And it also would have been nice if they had sent DCF, Child Services, at least a social worker, maybe a woman. But we know that the percentage of women at this specific police department is incredibly low. And one of the things that I cannot get out of my mind is Kelsey they're making a big point of the fact that Kelsey told them the guns were in the basement. And they're saying that she lied about that. I don't know if there were guns in the basement, if Justin's guns were in the basement. I'm not really sure what was in the basement. And regardless of whether she lied about it or not, once they allowed Justin into the house, they allowed him to go into the basement to get some of his things. And the only information they had at that point about what was in the basement were the guns. And no one accompanied Justin into the basement. Like these guys, fucking Keystone Cops again. And this could have been a really bad situation if Justin was the one who was crazy. He was a little crazy. But if he had decided to act out and the guns were in the basement and they allowed him to go down there by himself, like this could have been a huge disaster. That's all I want to say. Um, Jenny said, totally seems like a conflict that a neighboring town should have handled. I would hate having coworkers watch this situation play out. Yeah, that was part of this. This is embarrassing. These are her colleagues, and she says they were her friends. Cuff said the absence of CPS presence is something I have never heard before in a situation like this. Me either. I can't get over the quote from Daly where he corrected her when she was on the phone with her mom and she said they're going to take the baby. And he corrected her in that moment and said, "We're not going to take the baby. Justin is." Fucked up. So fucked up. Also, how about secure and inventory all the guns first and then do the packing? Great suggestion. Maybe more women should be in charge. I don't know. Rob says, stupid question. Is it possible the service weapons were in the basement and a personal weapon was in the bedroom? Absolutely. There was a gun safe at the top of the stairs, as I understand it. But yeah, they aren't acting like her friends. That is for sure, Cyber Chick.
So what happened next?
So we told her that, or Lieutenant Daly told her that Justin's going to come and pick up the baby. So she said, how long is he going to have him? I need to pack for him. So me and Lieutenant Daly began following Kelsey as she packed for her baby.
Okay. And did she do anything with the baby when you guys were following her around, if you remember?
I believe at that time, Officer Noonan was holding the baby.
Now, you said you were following her around the house?
That's correct.
Was it? Why was that?
It was still, we're still a little bit on edge. She had to go to the kitchen. I remember when me and Lieutenant Daly followed her in the kitchen, I was concerned because there was butcher knives all on the kitchen. That was just something that stood out to me.
This 5'2"
Was your
woman is
intention
just going to
for you
massacre
or
all
another
of you.
officer
Is
to be
that
with
what's
her
going to
the entire
happen?
time?
That's correct.
Is that standard
God.
practice when you're have similar concerns?
Correct.
After you went into the kitchen, do you remember where you went?
I believe we went upstairs. Me, Kelsey, Lieutenant Daly briefly came back downstairs, and then we went into the other side room. I think like an exercise room.
At any point, if you remember, did the defendant make a call?
Yes, at some point she called her mother.
So after you came downstairs, at some point, did you take possession of the baby?
That's correct.
And what happened while you were holding the baby? Anything?
Yeah, so I took the baby from Officer Noonan, which Kelsey asked me to do, which I did. Kelsey told me, why don't you take him for a walk? He likes to look at the cars. I told her, I said I'd take the baby, but I wasn't going to leave. So I took the baby out on the porch, and the baby was crying, so I was doing my best with the baby. And at that point, her mom showed up.
Through that same door, you guys had come in?
Correct.
And so what did you do when she came?
I peeked in. I told Lieutenant Daly, like, the mom's here. Why don't we give her the baby? And we invited the mom in.
After the mom came in and you handed the baby to her, did you stay in the immediate area or did you go somewhere?
So once the mom came in, she was pretty upset with us, but Lieutenant Daly explained the situation to her. So at that point, me and Officer Noonan followed Kelsey upstairs so she could pack more things.
Describe upstairs, if you would.
There's a landing. It's a T
Hold on
hallway.
a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go up the stairs, there's a landing, and there's a room off to the left and a room off to the right.
And could you describe the room off to the left?
It's got I believe it's the baby's room, has a crib in it.
And how about the room to the right?
That would be Kelsey's bedroom.
Now, you said you followed her up there. Did she go in any one particular room
She moved between both the rooms.
while you were up there?
Correct.
And what was she doing?
She was packing. At some point, she mentioned that Justin doesn't have a car seat. So she handed me a car seat. I was holding it, started putting more and more stuff in there. And at some point I put it down.
Why'd you put it down?
I didn't have my hands tied up.
And did that continue for some bit?
Briefly, at some point, she heard a female's voice downstairs, and she made a comment to me. She said, "Who's downstairs, my baby?" I said, "I believe it's your mom. I mean, we were just there." And she said, "That's not my mom's voice." And I got the sense that she wanted me to go downstairs and check, but I just kind of dismissed it at the time.
And so you stayed up there.
I stayed up
Do you
there.
remember which room that was in when you were having that conversation?
That was right at the landing. So she had moved, I think she had moved back to her bedroom, and as she was coming across, she had mentioned it. And at some point up there, I found another handgun case.
Okay. And where was that?
I honestly couldn't tell you which room it was in.
Okay. And did you look into it?
I opened it, and she saw me open it, and she said, "I already told you they're in the basement."
Was there anything in it?
There was nothing in it.
At some point, was your attention drawn downstairs again?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So at some point, Justin came. Kelsey heard his voice, and she said, "I don't want him in the house." And at that point, I thought the only thing that was going to escalate the situation is them two in the house together at the same point. So I wanted to help Kelsey out, so I told her I should tell Justin to leave.
Okay. Where were you in this conversation now?
Between me and Kelsey, we were still upstairs.
Okay. And was
Really?
Noonan also with you?
Yeah.
So did you go downstairs?
I did.
Okay. Officer Noonan stay up with Kelsey?
Correct.
Where is she at this point, if you remember?
Okay.
She was either in her room.
Hold
or
up,
at the
hold up,
landing.
hold
I
up,
couldn't
hold
be
up,
certain.
hold
We
up.
had that conversation.
Noonan never mentioned that in his testimony. This is new to me. I don't know if anyone else knew this, but Houston saying, I mean, he seems to be the only level-headed one here. He doesn't think that they should be in the same house together, which obviously Justin had filed a restraining order against her. He shouldn't be allowed to come into the house where she is, to do anything. And it sounds like he went downstairs to tell Justin to leave. Uh, uh, Is this the first you've heard of this? Because this is the first I'm hearing of this. That's interesting to me. Let me back it up just a little bit. Let's listen to that again.
But I couldn't be certain. But when we had that conversation, we were at the landing. And Justin came. Kelsey heard his voice, and she said, "I don't want him in the house." And
He shouldn't be
at
in
that
the
point,
house.
I thought the only thing that was going to escalate the situation is them two in the house together at the same point. So I wanted to help Kelsey out, so I told her I should tell Justin to leave.
Okay. Where were you in this conversation now?
Between me and Kelsey, we were still upstairs.
Okay. And was Officer Noonan also with you?
Yeah.
So did you go downstairs?
I did.
Okay. Officer Noonan stay up with Kelsey?
Correct.
Where is she at this point, if you remember?
She was either in her room or at the landing, but I couldn't be certain. But when we had that conversation, we were at the landing.
So another thing, when she said, "Who's that woman's voice downstairs?" and he said, it's your mother. We were just there." And she's like, "That doesn't sound like my mother." I'm assuming that was Courtney, Justin's sister. And that probably just enraged her. It would have enraged me.
You went downstairs.
Correct.
And what did you do when you went downstairs?
So when I went downstairs, I only saw Lieutenant Daly, the mom, and I told him, Kelsey doesn't want Justin in the house. And he said, "All right, Justin's, I don't know if he said he's in the basement or he's coming up from the basement." He said, "Just go to the basement and tell him just to wait outside."
Okay. So where'd you go?
I walked past Lieutenant Daly and Kelsey's mom through the kitchen where the basement at the top of the stairs is, and I opened that door.
Could you see down?
So the lights are off. I flicked the light to turn the lights on. Lights didn't turn on. So
Could you hear anything downstairs?
I couldn't hear anything. And I remember after I flicked the lights on, it didn't go on. I'm looking at a pitch black basement. I thought there was a chance I misheard Lieutenant Daly. And I just kind of stood there. I was like, I really don't want to walk down there if he's not down there. But I don't know. I was just kind of having like a moment where I wasn't sure what.
I think I'm actually starting to like this guy.
Okay. Did something happen at that point?
Yeah. So at that point, I heard Officer Noonan yell, "Kelsey," and I heard 2 gunshots.
What did you do?
Kelsey.
I ran back the way I came. At that point, it was only Kelsey's mom. She was still in the living room. Lieutenant Daly was gone. He'd already gone upstairs, and I started making my way upstairs.
Okay. When you were making your way upstairs, could you see anybody at the top of the landing?
I could see Officer Noonan.
And what happened as you went up?
So, I mean, I knew it was gunshots. I came over the air and I said, "Start medics." I don't know if that got caught or someone else was calling at the same time, but I had my pistol out and I was going up the stairs. I saw Noonan and I said, like, "You get up there? What was that?" And I can't remember exactly what he said at that point.
Can you
I just want to say this for the record. I really, really judged this guy harshly when he first got on the stand, and I assumed that he was one of those cops that like is holding up the blue line. I think that I misread him. I think that his demeanor, his like, "I don't want to be here," it's actually because I think he feels for Kelsey. I think he was the only cop in this situation of the 4 cops that were there who wanted to listen to what Kelsey had to say, wanted to listen to what Kelsey needed and what Kelsey wanted. And in this situation, what Kelsey wanted was she didn't want Justin in the house. His superior officer, Lieutenant Daly, made that decision to let Justin come to the house. But as soon as Kelsey asked him, I don't, or said to him, I don't want Justin in the house. His first instinct was to go downstairs and get Justin the fuck out of the house. That was the right thing to do. I think this guy feels bad. I think he's caught between the thin blue line on both sides. And I think that he was friendly with Kelsey and he didn't want to see her hurt. He didn't want to have to section her. He probably didn't want to have to. I think one of the reasons why he was asked to do this is because she would probably feel more comfortable with him. Now it makes sense to me why he was holding the baby out in the sunroom. I just feel bad for this guy. What a tough place. What a tough position to be in. I totally misread him. Just wanted to put that out there.
Just what he said?
At that point, he said, yeah, he looked like he was still in shock. He said, yeah. So I kept moving up towards him. And as I got closer to him, I was like, what just happened? He said, she pulled a gun on me. And we talked about it later, but at that point, that's what he said.
That's fine right there.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. That's sweet of you. I
Um,
try.
Do you
People can
remember the
change.
exact words he used?
So the exact words he used after would be after the FD and we had gone into the other room and spoken. But at that exact moment, I don't even.
What's the basis?
So
I'm sorry. Let me say one thing. So Sarah says, I'm confused as to why the police, believed her, Kelsey, to be a threat, which they should have since a restraining order was granted. Hold on. I'm confused as to why they believed her to be a threat, which they should have since the RO is granted. Why wouldn't they do a sweep for weapons or the rooms she asked to go in? I think the only reason they actually thought she was a threat. So this is how I understand it. Lieutenant Daly, who was sort of in charge of this operation, he brought Houston in first, and then Houston, I think, and maybe Daly, not sure, brought Noonan in. These are two guys that had worked with Kelsey, two guys who knew her kind of well. And I think he thought that that would de-escalate the situation, which I understand. But what escalated the situation is that the restraining order that Justin filed had been filed earlier that day, and then it had been faxed over to the North Andover Police Department. They, at the time, didn't see the affidavit that Justin filled out, which detailed his complaint. All they knew was they had to serve this restraining order on Kelsey, and the restraining order said that she was losing custody of her baby. They had to take all of her weapons, and that more than likely she's going to be suspended or lose her job, or whatever might happen. She also wasn't allowed to go within 100 feet of Justin's family's home in Stowe. So Kelsey had been sectioned before. She'd had postpartum depression and had been suffering mental health issues since the baby had been born over the past 4 months. And she had been on leave and she'd had her guns taken away from her. She had just been reinstated to the police department. She was about to start working again. I think it was on the July 4th detail, which is why she had her weapon back. I agree with you that they should have done a sweep of the house, but I don't know if constitutionally, legally, they were allowed to necessarily search the house. I think they're only allowed to be there um to serve the restraining order. But they were supposed to confiscate the guns. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do it before, or I don't know. I don't know. I just think that they trusted that everybody in the house worked for police or fire, and that everyone would do the right thing, except for they're all saying that she might be crazy, and Justin told them that she might kill the baby in front of them. I'm like, yeah, it was a temporary, Jeff, was it a temporary restraining order? I don't think the person the RO is against has an opportunity to defend themselves. Not at all. And in the state of Massachusetts, which I talked about the other day, you can file for a temporary restraining order ex parte, which means you can just walk in off the street and do it yourself. You don't need a judge's approval or signature on it. You literally go into the town, North Andover, you go into like the city hall and you say, I want to file a temporary restraining order against this person. And then you have a witness with you and you fill it out, you fill out the affidavit, they fax it over, they fax the restraining order over to the North Andover Police Department, and they have to go and work that service of that restraining order, which is what they were doing. I'm sure they all felt like they didn't want to do it. I'm sure but it's their duty to do it. It should have been handled differently. They all know, everyone knows everybody here. Everybody knows what Kelsey's been through. Everybody knows that she has a restraining order against her now. And they should have never allowed Justin to be involved in this process one iota. And that was the biggest mistake because he was escalating it all day and continued to escalate over the next 2 to 3 days when he broke into her house after he thought she was probably gonna die. Ooh, makes me so mad. Okay, sorry, back to it. Let me back it up a little bit. Where are we at? 4607. Wait.
America's not down there, but I don't know how. I was just kind of having like a moment where I wasn't sure whether or not to check with Lieutenant Daly.
Okay. Did something happen at that point?
Yeah. So at that point, I
Sorry.
heard Officer Noonan, mom, and I told him, Kelsey doesn't want Justin in the house, and he said, all right, Justin's. I don't know if he said he's in the basement or he's coming up from the basement. He said, just go to the basement and tell him just to wait outside.
Okay. So where'd you go?
I walked past Lieutenant Daly and Kelsey's mom through the kitchen where the basement at the top of the stairs is, and I opened that door.
Could you see down?
So the lights are off. I flicked the light to turn the lights on. Lights didn't turn on. So
Could you hear anything downstairs?
I couldn't hear anything.
Cross
And I
is gonna be
remember after
interesting.
I flicked the lights on, they didn't go on. I'm looking at a pitch black basement. I thought there was a chance I misheard Lieutenant Daly, and I just kind of stood there. I was like, I really don't want to walk down there if he's not down there, but I don't know how. I was just kind of having like a moment where I wasn't sure whether or not to check with Lieutenant Daly.
Okay. Did something happen at that point?
Yeah. So at that point, I heard Officer Noonan yell Kelsey, and then I heard 2 gunshots.
What did you do?
I ran back the way I came. At that point, it was only Kelsey's mom. She was still in the living room. Lieutenant Daly was gone. He'd already gone upstairs, and I started making my way upstairs.
Okay. When you were making your way upstairs, could you see anybody at the top of the landing?
I could see Officer Noonan.
And what happened as you went up?
So, I mean, I knew it was gunshots. I came over the air and I said, start medics. I don't know if that got caught or someone else was calling at the same time, but I had my pistol out and I was going up the stairs. I saw Noonan and I said, like, you get up there? What was that? And I can't remember exactly what he said at that point.
Can you give us the gist of what he said?
At that point, he said, yeah, he looked like he was still in shock. He said, yeah. So I kept moving up towards him. And as I got closer to him, I was like, what just happened? And he said, she pulled a gun on me. And we talked about it later, but at that point, that's what he said.
That's fine right there. Thank you.
Do you remember the exact words he used?
So the exact words he used would be after the FD and we had gone into the other room and spoken. But at that exact moment, I don't even.
What's the basis?
So I'm not, I guess there's a vague question because I don't know what he's referring to in terms of what conversation, how long is it after the incident, what's the demeanor, what's the purpose of it being offered for? There's a lot to unpack here.
All right, well, what the answer was didn't include hearsay. It just was that I think it was something to the effect that later on they went in the kitchen, but maybe he and Noonan and had a discussion, something to that effect. But the objection's overruled.
So the fact of the discussion, I don't object to, but just any further, I'm trying to stop it from coming out. Thank you.
Okay.
Would the exact words that he used when you first ran up the stairs, would it help you to remember if you looked at a report?
I know he did say she pointed the gun at me, pulled the trigger, and racked the slide. Whether it was right when I was moving up the stairs or once everything got situated, it was in that time frame, but I can't remember if it was exactly when I got to the top of the stairs or.
Okay. Would looking at a report help you remember that?
Not responsive. It's, I don't know what conversation he's talking about. It's hearsay and frankly news to the defense.
Okay, so first things first. On the hearsay issue, Mr. Bertozzi.
I'm trying to establish that it happened seconds after the event.
So for the truth of the matter or state of mind?
Both.
Okay. And so to the extent that you're seeking to offer for the truth of the matter, it's hearsay. And I think, didn't we already litigate the spontaneous utterance?
No, that was a different time frame.
Oh, that was a different- all right. So are you arguing that this should be admitted as a spontaneous utterance?
Yes.
Where's there a
And then
dog barking?
The rest of your objections that is within there, let's just take them a step at a time. Let's get through the spontaneous utterance. So, Mr. Brado, what do you say on the spontaneous utterance?
So I think there's certainly a lack of foundation, Judge. There's been 2 different overlapping statements that are referenced here. I don't know where they're going back to here. It needs to be clarified foundationally what happened before the statement, how long after the shots it was, what were the circumstances of that particular first statement they want to try to use.
So
What did I ask for?
I agree with Mr. Brado that it's the foundation right now, and it's not the witnesses, it's no one's fault. The foundation right now to me is confusing because he's having trouble remembering which
And
conversation.
I do understand that. That's why I'm looking to approach with a report.
Okay.
To refresh his memory, yes.
All right, why don't you do that and we'll take it a step at a time.
Okay.
Just so you know, for right now, I'm not going to strike the testimony because it can come in for state of mind. The issue is whether it comes in for the truth.
They did have the window. I think the window's just cracked now, but they had to close it because the emergency vehicles were too loud, and then but now it's too hot in there, so they've cracked it open.
Does that help you remember the timing of that statement?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, when did that statement happen?
So that statement happened when I got to the top of the stairs.
Right.
I don't
What
know
statement?
What statement it is because
Thank you.
He's
Jesus.
Sure, I'll ask him.
He's recited two different statements. Again, I'm not casting aspersions, but it was she pulled a gun on me, or she pointed a gun, wrapped the trigger, etc. So you can have them clarify.
Sure.
Yes, please.
What statement did you hear when you ran up the stairs the first time?
So she pointed the gun at me. I'm speaking from Officer Noonan's perspective. Pointed the gun.
I can't hear
She
you.
pointed the gun at Officer Noonan, pulled the trigger, and then racked the slide.
Who said that?
All right, and there's an objection to that coming in for truth of the matter.
I can check one more.
Sure, take your time.
She pulled a gun on me, racked the trigger, racked it, and pulled the slide.
There's still a lack of foundation here, Your Honor. Now he's saying something different than what he said 2 answers ago about what the statement was. So this is, in terms of any sort of reliability, preliminary finding of any of this, it's all over the place. He just said something completely different than what he said before.
He's not clarified it, so we're beyond that. And so he now has identified the statement, identified where it was made, when it was made. There was some mention before about the declarant's state of mind. So I guess what I'm saying, politely saying is you need to move beyond that. So now the issue for me is, does that statement come in for the truth of the matter? And
Judge, I think that I'll reiterate my arguments from the earlier discussion about the other excited utterance statement, Your Honor, that this isn't like a domestic violence situation where someone is, a battered woman or something, where the time frame is much more flexible. And in this situation, you have an officer-involved shooting that happens. Another fellow investigating officer comes right up there, and there's a huge motive to fabricate immediately, Your Honor, that something happened that covers the officer, covers
Yes.
the shooting officer,
Yes.
versus being under the influence of the event so that you're not fabricating. There's an immediate impulse here that this officer has to cover his future. He has to cover his conduct right away.
Yes.
There doesn't need to be much time to realize that from an officer who jumps the gun, from an officer who panics and shoots someone in the wrong circumstances. That's something that would immediately happen. And particularly where there's no surrounding corroboration, where there's no attempt by the government or no testimony from Noonan that this happened. This is something completely different, that the statement happened, or that this interaction with Houston happened. There's extremely unreliable circumstances. If that really happened, Noonan would have testified to it. If that really happened, the government would have given me discovery on it. If that really happened, it would have been corroborated. So
all right, so the discovery, the lack of discovery.
Whoa,
are
these
different
two
matter.
getting
Anything else
snippy.
on just the Commonwealth's assertion that it qualifies as a spontaneous utterance?
no, Your Honor, just the notion that it's not a domestic violence situation. It's a situation where the motive to fabricate immediately arises. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gubitosi, anything further on that?
This is exactly what the exception is for. It couldn't have been more immediate unless Officer Houston was standing next to Officer Noonan when it happened. He immediately heard the shots, immediately heard the yell, and ran up the flight of stairs that you've seen pictures of, and asked what happened, and got that response. So that's my answer to that. And as far as, I think I have to, since we're on the record, talk about a discovery violation. We're
not there yet. We're not
Okay,
there yet.
okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All right, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to sustain the objection, but for reasons different than Mr. Bradle articulated, and essentially for the same reasons that I stated yesterday to Attorney Moriarty, and that is that when I weigh the factors under Baldwin, I come out that it militates towards excluding it for the truth of the matter. It will come in for state of mind. We don't need to get to alleged discovery violations or any other reasons because I've sustained the objection. Unless you want to.
I'd just like to put on the record, it was part of his recorded interview that they've had since the beginning. So.
All right.
Now, sir, after you heard Officer Noonan tell you that she pulled out a pistol, pulled the trigger, and racked around, where did you go?
At that point, I was at the landing. I looked in and I saw Kelsey on the ground and I saw Lieutenant Daly over her.
What was he doing? Anything?
It looked like he was kind of evaluating her. I moved towards them. I asked either Noonan or Lieutenant Daly. I said, "Where's the gun?" I believe I asked Noonan, and he motioned away from Kelsey, so that stopped being my concern. I moved close to Lieutenant Daly just to see what level of consciousness Kelsey was. I could see she was breathing, she was alert. So I told Lieutenant Daly I was going to go get a med
This
bag.
must have been sad for
Was
him.
she saying anything?
She kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
And so, where did you go?
I ran down to get the medical bag out of my cruiser.
Did you get it?
I did.
Did you come back?
I did.
And what did you do when you came back?
I threw the medical bag on the bed, and I started taking stuff out. I took out the AED. I took out gauze, wraps, stuff like that. Handed it to Lieutenant Daly.
Excuse me one moment.
Sure.
Sorry. Anyway. Are we back to normal sound?
Are we
Jesus.
talking about when I came up with the med bag or before that?
First time.
First time, he had it out.
And how was he holding it?
He had it at the low ready, so he had it kind of down towards the ground.
Pointing to the ground?
Yes,
Do you see Kelsey Fitzsimmons in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Can you point to her and describe an article of clothing she's wearing?
She's wearing like a beige sweater.
May the record reflect she's identified the defendant.
It may.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
Okay. Cross-examination?
Oh,
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You said that Ms. Fitzsimmons initially exhibited a lack of certainty, or that she was unsure why you were there, correct?
Correct.
And how was that manifested?
She just looked surprised. Her eyes were wide. She didn't. I mean, I guess that's the best way I could describe it.
Now, you were with her for a good amount of time during this interaction, right?
Correct.
And it's true that she tried to kind of get you away from her a couple of times.
That's what I believe. Yes.
She gave you the baby and said maybe go out on the porch and we're taking for a walk.
Correct.
so he's saying
She
that's
also
what I
put some,
believe.
tried to put some things in your hands and asked you to take it downstairs.
She didn't ask me to take them downstairs. She just put them in my head
And where did that occur?
on the landing
Upstairs.
upstairs.
And you said that you heard Officer Noonan yell Kelsey,
Correct.
and that's all?
That's all.
One time?
One time.
And how about after you said Kelsey, how long of a time elapsed until the gunshots?
I couldn't put an exact time. It wasn't instant, but it was relatively quick.
Relatively quick. How about the gunshots themselves? It was two gunshots, right?
Two gunshots.
Were they in quick succession?
Relatively, yeah, pretty quick.
And you said that Ms. Fitzsimmons said, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Did she say, I'm sorry, I tried to kill myself?
She did not say that.
Just, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. 3 times.
Now, was there a plan before this to section Kelsey?
No.
You mentioned that you had known that she was sectioned before, right?
Correct.
And that was several months prior, wasn't it?
I don't know exactly when it was.
Okay, so it's fair to say that you don't really have any grasp of the details of that incident, do you?
I do not.
And you don't know whether it had anything to do with the police or not, do you?
I know there was police there, but I don't know the circumstances of what happened.
Okay, so you don't know how long it was?
No.
And you don't even know whether she was in fact accepted as a Section 12 commitment, do you?
No idea.
And so do you know the difference between having forms filled out to be looked at under Section 12 versus being accepted and committed under Section 12?
Yeah. So I didn't want to, like I said, I was invited to her wedding. I was friends with Kelsey.
That's not my question.
Okay.
I asked you some stuff about Section 12.
I know if you get sectioned, you're going to be there for probably 72 hours and you can't leave.
And do you have any idea whether that happened in March?
I have no idea.
So it's fair to say that other than kind of the notion floating around in your
I feel for
department
this
that she was
guy.
sectioned, you really have no information whatsoever about it, isn't that right?
No, I didn't want to know.
And then you said something about the knives in Ms. Fitzsimmons' kitchen.
Correct.
What's the status of the knives in Ms. Fitzsimmons' kitchen?
Just at that point, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I didn't want her to reach for a knife. It's nothing against her. It's just
Aw.
it's a lot of information to take in. I didn't know how she was going to react.
Okay, so was there something?
This guy
strange about the
does.
knives
This
that
guy
were-
has empathy
Just
for her, I
nothing
think.
official.
So when you're serving one of these things, anything can be a weapon, right? Any normal household product item can be a weapon, right?
I wouldn't say anything.
A lot of things. How about that?
Yeah, let's go with that.
And in this
Let's
case,
go
there
with
were
that.
knives in her kitchen. Is there anything more to it than that?
Nope, that's it.
I feel bad for this guy.
One more, please. Your Honor.
Yes.
Kelsey's got something to say here. So does Martha Coakley.
Okay. And any redirect?
Yeah, just briefly, a
Okay.
lot of things could be weapons, correct?
Correct.
So that's why you don't leave someone alone, right? That's why you keep eyes on them the whole time.
Correct.
That's why you use a turn in their pocket while they're walking around, right?
Correct.
Any recross?
Nothing further.
Okay, all right, you may step down. And Commonwealth, can you call your next witness?
Oh, one more. Who's coming up next? Who's it gonna be? I think it's a woman. Oh, we're seeing the gallery. That's a woman. Big head in the high hand. Big head in the high hand. I am not, this is not a, I'm doing this. Big head in the high hand.
How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I did feel bad for
Can you
him.
Please state your name, spell your first name
Who
and
dis?
your last name.
Yes, my name is Michelle Mitchell. Michelle is M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E.
Michelle Mitchell.
Last name Mitchell, M-I-T-C-H-E-L-L.
I
And
don't
what
know
town do
this
you live in?
name.
I live in Ipswich, Massachusetts.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a correctional officer.
Um,
I'm a correctional officer.
Oh,
And how long have you
interesting.
been doing that?
8 years.
In
Is she gonna talk about Kelsey?
Yes,
Do you know Kelsey Fitzsimmons?
I do.
How do you know her?
We were coworkers and we eventually became friends.
Now I'm going to jump ahead in your relationship. Well, when did you meet her? Do you remember?
The end of 2021.
At some point, you knew she was getting married.
Yes.
Were you going to be part of that?
Yes, I was a bridesmaid in their wedding.
I'm going to turn your attention to June 30th of 2025. Do you recall that day?
I do.
At some point, did you have a conversation with her?
I did.
And was that over the phone?
Yes.
And can you tell us about that?
Yes. We talked on the phone and she was driving around North Andover and she was crying and I heard her baby crying in the back seat.
Did she tell you why she was crying?
It's gotta be
She
hard.
said that she needed Justin.
Any more than that, or was that the gist of it?
That was the gist of the conversation. And then she said she had to pull over to feed the baby.
Now, where were you when you had that conversation? Do you remember?
I was in North Andover driving around trying to meet up with her.
Did you ever meet up with her that day?
I did not until I saw her later in the hospital.
Where did you go? Did you stay in North Andover?
I did up until I went to the hospital after she was shot.
Okay. Where did you go in North Andover? Anybody's house in particular?
I went to Hunter's house.
Okay. And who is Hunter?
Hunter.
He is a friend of Justin's.
And Justin Alayan?
Yes.
And who do you know him to be with regards to Kelsey?
He's a coworker of Justin's and also a friend of his.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hunter. I meant of the defendant. Who is Justin in relation to the defendant?
Oh,
Sorry
Justin.
if that was unclear.
That's okay. Justin was Kelsey's fiance.
Was anybody else over Hunter's house?
Yes.
Who was that?
It would be me, Justin, Katrina, myself, and Justin's sister, Courtney.
And who is
Fucking Courtney.
Katrina?
A friend of Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
Was she also in the wedding, if you know?
Yes.
And without getting into the conversation that was being had between the half dozen of you or so, do you know if Justin made a decision to do something?
Yes.
What was that?
He was going to go to the Lawrence courthouse to file a restraining order 209A and also get temporary custody of the child.
Okay. And at any point, did you see the defendant in the area of Hunter's house?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes. I witnessed her drive by Hunter's house.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
So fucking what?
Good afternoon, Ms. Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
A couple questions. You said that you spoke with Kelsey on 6/30/25,
That is correct.
and she told you that she was driving around. She said that she was meeting Justin, right?
No, she's not meeting Justin.
Did you say needing Justin?
I said
Needing.
Meeting.
I did. Wasn't she going to meet Justin?
That was what I understood from Justin, but she didn't tell me that on the phone.
Oh,
Okay, she said that she needed Justin?
oh,
Meeting or needing? You need to clarify that for me.
ooh,
I think I said needed. She said she needed
Damn.
Justin.
Needed Justin. That is correct.
Okay, so just let's put that over here.
ooh,
And she had also told you that day that she was
cunty.
meeting Justin, right?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Oh,
So she couldn't meet with you because she was meeting Justin, right?
That is what she said.
that's what she said.
And you said there was some sort of gathering at Hunter's house,
Yes.
and that was a social gathering with swimming and drinking, right?
That is incorrect.
Was there swimming?
No, Mr. Bradle.
Was there drinking?
Ooh,
Also no.
And it was you, Katrina, and Justin and his sister and Hunter, right?
Correct.
ooh.
Now, you said that you saw her drive by the house,
Yes,
and so it's fair to say that she would have been able to recognize some or all of the vehicles, right?
yes,
And going by the house is a route that would take her to the North Andover Common, right?
yes, it's near there, correct.
Nothing further.
Holy cannoli.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Jesus.
Just give me one moment. Well, you can.
No, Mr. Bradle. No, Mr. Bradle. Asshole. Get out of here. Oh, here we go. Here we go with the static. Why do they do this to me? All right, let's move it along. Hi, Kelsey. Get up to that sidebar. Excuse me, all. Don't mean to cough in your ear. All right. Okay. Playback speed 1.
Your objection that is within there, let's just.
Wait, how do we get back to this guy? Wait. Holy cannoli. All right, there is her. There's the sidebar. And here we are. Jeez.
Continue in open court, Mr. Brado, we were discussing, why don't you give me an update on the potential for a view?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. We did get some kind assent from the folks that live there, and it's something that we can do. And I would say that, in a
We
bench
can do the
trial
view. That's what we're
situation,
talking about.
we're speaking directly to the fact finder, and we have moved for the view. In the final analysis, I rely on the court's discretion and Your Honor's discretion as to whether a view in the final kind of look at things is helpful to the fact finder. So
The judge is the fact
that's our
finder.
position on that, and we think that judge will be in a position to end the defense case probably by the end of the day tomorrow. Or
Oh, whoa.
afternoon tomorrow.
Okay.
Did the
And
Commonwealth
as
rest?
for, so would the view occur tomorrow?
I think so, Your Honor, that if that's the case, we could do it tomorrow, or we could do it after the defense case.
Okay, and Commonwealth, what do you say?
Take no position.
Well, here's the thing, you take no position, but as I kidded with you earlier, we're gonna need your resources.
Sure, no, take no
Okay.
position. I leave it up to you whether you think you need one. We would absolutely assist in any way we can.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to take a position on whether I need one or not. What I'm going to do is allow the motion. You've requested it.
I think you should go.
Mind and
Thank you.
we'll treat it like a view with the jury. You folks can point out things to me.
Good.
That you'd like me to remember. It will become
Good.
part of the evidence like it is in a jury trial, my observations, and the issue. I just need, I'd like to take a short break to just meet with the court staff, Mr. Wayne, and our court officers just on the procedures that we'll use. As I told you at sidebar, I've never done a view in a bench trial. It's not something that we typically do, but I'm all for it. I want to talk with my staff for a few, not my staff, the staff, for a few
He's a good
moments,
guy.
so that I can come back and we can perhaps get some planning done as well.
He's so refreshing after Ronnie Bev.
So let's just take a.
He said the view.
even a
I'll allow
5-minute
it.
break, and Mr. Wayne and our chief and our assistant.
5-minute break.
Talk with you for a moment.
Let's get through this. All right. Lots going on. I don't know if I missed it or I can't really tell. Anybody who's on Twitter, let me know because I'm not looking at Twitter right now. But I think that is the is the Commonwealth resting? Did they rest? I don't know. Yeah, some very big deeper vibes from Miss Mitchell or whatever the fuck her name was. Like, there's no reason to come in that hot. You know what I mean? Mr. Bradle. There's no reason to come in that hot. She wasn't up there for more than 4 minutes. Like, she's not this huge witness. Like, simmer the fuck down, you know? We're still on 3 times speed. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a little more than we needed, I think. I have to say Houston surprised me. I didn't expect that any of the 3 cops and then eventually 4 cops that were there. I thought I was going to have issues with all of them because I assumed wrongly that they were going to be on Noonan's side. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was on a side. I think they were both his friends and it was a tragic thing and he's sort of like a relaxed, laid back guy. Sorry.
Okay, all right, so friendly motion for review is allowed. And I've met with our court officers and Mr. Wayne. So let me just specify who's going to be present.
More witnesses
I'm
for
gonna
the Commonwealth
assume that
tomorrow. Okay.
The 3 groups, the Commonwealth, the defense, and the court staff will go there in separate vehicles.
I agree with that,
And
Teal.
so we need to just work out a time. And
Tell me why, Cynthia.
also, frankly,
Tell me why you disagree.
So let me back up. As for who goes inside the house to do the view, I'm sorry, all the folks in the back row, but perhaps it can be the four of you folks that Ms. Fitzsimmons, counsel, the trial counsel.
It's going to be hard for Kelsey, I think.
Attorney Coakley, Attorney Bradle, and your paralegal. And I'm sorry, he said Mr. Bradle has told me your name 6 times, and I just keep forgetting. But I don't mean any disrespect to the other attorneys, but I can already tell from the photographs it's a small house.
Yeah.
And then on the court side, it will be myself, Mr. Ruane, our court monitor, if you'll be available, and some court officers. We'll take our own vehicle. I would ask that there be some kind of police escort for us so that we can do this quickly. And I'll also tell the media and our audience that this is not something that you folks will be. This is not going. You will not. No one else will be inside that house or really within some yardage or footage of the house. I need to figure out what that would be, other than the folks that I've mentioned: defense counsel, Ms. Fitzsimmons, the court staff, and the prosecutors. I'd ask that the North Andover Police. I'll give you some kind of a distance. I need to think about it, but that the North Andover Police do what is you, or the state police do what they usually do during a view. Which is typically shutting down the street or area to make sure that we can accommodate quick movement through there. All right.
Big deal.
So that's where we're at. So I would just ask you folks to just work out a time. Let our either chief court officer, assistant chief court officer, Mr. Ruane know what time you want to go. And then what we'll do is if we're in the middle of a witness's testimony, we'll just break, go on the view and come back. And again, the expectations at the view will be just like we do during a jury trial. The attorneys it will be on the record in the sense of it will be recorded. Is that not live, but recorded? What? It's a handout, right? So it won't be live, but it will be recorded, so there's a record of it. And the attorneys, like in a jury view, will just point out locations inside the home that you'd like me to, and even outside the home that you'd like me to make note of. All right. And we will go from there. Anything else?
So we're not going to see the view?
Just to give you a heads up, we need a little time to.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. You anticipate Thursday morning. Okay. That's time. Just
Thursday morning. Okay, Thursday morning, not tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Cynthia, you
that
definitely
makes
should go
sense. So
back and
tomorrow,
watch his testimony. I
Commonwealth
think
may or
he
may
is a
not
little
have
bit more
witnesses. The
endearing.
defense, if the Commonwealth rests, I guess you could rest because it is the defense's motion for the view. So technically you could rest if the
Hold on. I just missed what he said.
Street or area to make sure that we can accommodate quick movement through there. All right, so that's where we're at. So I would just ask you folks to just work out a time. Let our either Chief Court Officer, Assistant Chief Court Officer, Mr. Ruane know.
Me too, Cobby
what time
Bobby.
we want to go, and then what we'll do is, if we're in the middle of a witness's testimony, we'll just break, go on the view and come back. And again, the expectations at the view will be just like we do during a jury trial. The attorneys it will be on the record in the sense of it will be recorded. It's not live, but recorded. What? It's a handout, right? So it won't be live, but it will be recorded, so there's a record of it. And the attorneys, like in a jury view, will just point out locations inside the home that you'd like me to, and even outside the home that you'd like me to make note of. All right, and we will go from there. Anything else?
Just to give you a heads up, we need a little time to.
Oh, okay, all right, that makes sense. You just speak Thursday morning. Okay, that's fine. Just let her. Okay, all right. And does that work for you folks? Okay, all right. Okay, that makes sense. So tomorrow, the Commonwealth may or may not have a witness. The defense, if the Commonwealth rests, I guess you could rest because it is the defense's motion for the view. So technically, you could rest. If the Commonwealth rests in the morning, you'll be ready to proceed with your case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay.
Excellent. And then we won't obviously get to closings until after the view. So if
Friday
we're on target
closings.
and and the evidence tomorrow, we can that can happen on Thursday. All right.
Oh, closings
All
on
right. And,
Thursday.
I'm sorry. One other thing. I've only done this once this trial. I always have these false alarms when I'm ready to leave, and that is that as I
He's
said,
funny.
I'd like to get some agreement on the law that you want me to apply. All right. So, or at least maybe not agreement, consensus. All right. So you
All
can
right.
do that in the way of proposed jury instructions, just a memo, whatever you want to do is fine. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that was a very eventful day again. So it sounds like tomorrow for sure, the Commonwealth, well, I don't know if it's for sure or not, but I would assume so. The Commonwealth is going to rest their case tomorrow, and it looks like Bradel's going to put on a case tomorrow, hopefully. I'm very interested to see how this goes. I don't think the Commonwealth has proved their case. What do you guys think? And then there's going to be the view on Thursday and probably closing arguments on Thursday unless they go long tomorrow, I guess. So that's interesting. I think this is good. You guys were mentioning it earlier that the bench trial, it's like it's without all the fluff. It's without all of the jury in, the jury out. We can't say it's in front of the jury. And on top of that, there's all this like emotional play at hand when there's a jury involved. Like they're really trying to play on the emotions of the jury. Oh, Amanda designed a whack job sticker. Please send it over. I can't wait to see it. I might need a shirt that says whack job on it. But I love this. It's very like streamlined. It's easy to understand. Like the judge didn't understand the gun stuff, so he was asking them to, help explain it. That was helpful to me. It's in my box. The whack job's in my box. Oh gosh, I really appreciate you all being here. Thanks for coming back after lunch. I know I was expecting to come in and there only be like a few people, like 5 people in here. So the fact that a bunch of you came back, I really appreciate that. I assume we're starting again at 9 a.m. tomorrow. My morning is a little bit booked up. So I think they started at like 9, I think they started on time this morning. I probably will not be able to start streaming until 11. So I'll probably do what I did today, which is just go back through what I missed and stream that with you. So I think Melanie Little does that. She gets a little behind because she stops and she talks about things. So I'll probably do the same thing I did with you today, which is I will go back into what I missed and we can start from there. And Yeah. How are we all feeling? How's everybody feeling so far? Do you all think, let's say the Commonwealth walks in tomorrow at 9 a.m. and they say the Commonwealth rests. Do you think the Commonwealth has proved their case? What do you think? What do you think? Um, my ADHD handles the efficiency of a bench trial, Carby Barbie says. I don't think that the prosecution proved their case of Corey Richens, so what do I know? Hey, I completely agree with you, Cynthia. I mean, I still think that. I still think that. I also think they do have a couple of shots at appeal. We could talk about that later. You are very welcome. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Pimabo or is it Pi? I don't know. Kelly, thanks for becoming a member. That's amazing. Love it. Not proven. Amanda says, nope. The struggle is Teal says. Let's see. Not beyond a reasonable doubt, Maria says. So yeah, we're all feeling that. So we'll see. I would love to know what's going on in the judge's head. He seems like a very reasonable, diligent, streamlined kind of guy. He seems very fair, which I also appreciate. Um, there was that moment between the two attorneys, between Bradel and Gubertos, and that I thought was gonna, like, be a little bit of, like, fisticuffs or something, but other than that, everybody's being really respectful of one another, and I appreciate that, except for the friggin' witnesses who are being complete douchebags to Bradel. I don't like that. Um, Carby Barbie says, "I still have way too many questions about Noonan's testimony." Same. There's a lot of inconsistencies there, and I think that some of the Commonwealth's own witnesses on direct didn't help Noonan's testimony, so let's see. Tuesday, how's it going, girl? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. I think the bench trial will be better for the defense because the judge will see the BS. Agreed. Kitty said, I'm still getting good vibes from the judge. Maria said, I hope we hear his thoughts after he sees the actual room. Yeah, I'm really glad that he's going on a view. I think that's going to help him like understand what could have happened in that room a little bit better. Even if he doesn't shoot guns himself, I think it'll be good for him. Chris says there seems to be some contradiction among the officers who testified as to what happened at the landing before the shooting started. I completely agree with that. I also think it's crazy that we didn't know until Houston took the stand that Kelsey said, I don't want him here. Can you ask him to leave? And that Houston went down and said to Daly, Kelsey doesn't want him here. We need to get him out of the house. And Daly agreed to that. Why are we just learning that after the fourth officer? Like they held Houston to the end of all of the officers, including the ballistics guy. Like, because they think he's a soft witness for them. I mean, I think he's a soft witness for them. I thought he was a concerned friend. I think he tried to keep the peace in this house, and I think everybody else wasn't thinking straight. It seems like he was. Um let's see. Yeah, the whole whistleblowers thing. I really wish I knew. When I looked on Twitter at like, at Aiden's feed and at Jess Machado's feed and some other folks that were in the courtroom, I didn't see any talk of what was happening. But what I was seeing on the screen, because the camera was focused on the defense table and the court officer was like standing right next to Bradel and Kelsey, every time he said there were whistleblowers from the North Andover Police Department, there was some kind of thing happening behind Kelsey, like to the point where Kelsey turned around and looked. The police officer was focused on someone over there, but nobody said anything, and it wasn't enough of a disturbance for anything to happen. But something was happening, and it happened every time Bradel said he had whistleblowers from the North Andover PD. So interesting. I would love to know from inside, if whoever's inside and saw that knew what was happening. But I know that some people were saying there were cops outside of the courtroom who were all there in support of Noonan, and we're talking about that, but I don't know. I don't know. Chris has a question that they're saying, did Noonan know Justin was there or not? I think that he did I think he did because when Houston came upstairs with, thanks Tuesday, thanks for the tip, darling. I appreciate that. This is a lot of work. You guys are coming through and it makes my day. I just got a little ping endorphin rush. So when Houston came running up the stairs where Noonan already was, and Kelsey was trying to give him Or maybe okay, let's say this. Let's say I don't know if Noonan was upstairs, but let's say Houston went upstairs and it was just him and Kelsey. Noonan was downstairs at least because it's a really small place. So Noonan was in the vicinity, either in the living area, living room, kitchen area, or he was upstairs on the landing when Houston came up and Kelsey was giving him stuff to bring back downstairs. Kelsey said to him, "I don't want Justin in the house." And from what I understand, she said that in front of Noonan, which means that Houston then ran down the stairs and said to Daly, "Hey, she doesn't want him in the house." And he said, "He's in the basement. Go tell him to sit outside, stand outside." So that's when everything got really escalated. Yeah, so Noonan would have been upstairs already when that happened. So Noonan knew that Justin was in the house. And also, Kelsey said, "Who's that woman downstairs?" And Noonan said to her, "That's your mom. You were just down there. Don't be a crazy, hysterical woman whack job." And she said, "That doesn't sound like my mother's voice." That was more than likely Courtney's voice because they had just shown up. So Noonan knew Justin was in the house. Chris said, "If he would lie about that, what else in his story has been twisted to fit what he needed so he wouldn't be in trouble or he wouldn't feel guilt?" I would add. How would Kelsey know, but Noonan didn't? Yeah, I think Noonan knew. He knew. And he was contradicted by Houston, Chris said. And I agree. Yes, he knew. He contradicted himself about Justin being up there. Yep. Oh, what a lovely thank you. Thanks, Jenna Lee. I appreciate that super sticker. That means the world to me. Yeah, Maria said, "I still can't believe he had an RO, but NAPD let him in the house." Not only did they let him in the house, they let him go unaccompanied into the basement where Kelsey told him the guns were. Make that one make sense to me, y'all. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. It just absolutely doesn't make sense. Okay. I have got to go make some dinner because I haven't eaten all day. But I'm gonna stay on for like another 10 minutes. And then I gotta go. I gotta take this dog out, this sleepy dog behind me, and then I gotta make myself something to eat. Mary said the way he puts it, Kelsey was going to go through how many officers to get to Justin. Exactly. Like, what was the plan? I mean, maybe because he's saying she wasn't in her right mind, there was no plan. Excuse me. But was it going to be that she shot Noonan in the face? She murdered him in the face. And then she ran downstairs and then she took out Houston and she took out Daly. And then what about her mom? And then she was going to make her way all the way into the basement to murder Justin in the face. But she wouldn't have found Justin in the basement because he scampered like a little rat and then did a pirouette outside after he fell, a la Trooper Paul. Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to sell here, but I'm not buying it. It's not working for me. So let's see. Oh, cuff you. Thank you, darling. I appreciate your dedication to the victims and hope to see you grow quickly. Your knowledge and insight are very helpful. That is very sweet of you. Thanks for the $5. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an investigator. I am just a writer and a journalist who wants to understand human behavior a little bit better. So that's what I'm trying to do. And you're doing it with me. And I appreciate you all so much. Carby Barbie said, was it Houston who said Kelsey seemed genuinely surprised as they arrived? Yes. He said that there was shock, like her eyes were, she had no idea. And it contradicts the suspicions about where her car was parked. That's a great point. That's a really good point. They're just grasping at straws. The whole car parking thing, maybe she wanted to park her car away from the house so in case Justin came by for many reasons, whether it be that because she wanted him to think she wasn't home so he would go away, or whether she wanted him to think that she wasn't home so he would come in. It doesn't really matter. It was probably all about Justin, not about anything else. Just so stupid. Just said they let 3 civilians into the house of this allegedly super dangerous person before they had secured the pews. Yeah, doesn't make sense. They let Justin into the basement alone where they thought the pews were. Exactly. And that's what I believe said. She's an experienced officer and a rookie. He has to cover all the bases about what she would or would not be able to do. Yes, exactly. Dot said also, no one has made a credible argument about the damned car being parked far away. They just bring it up all the time like it means anything, but no one says what it's supposed to mean. I think it just means that she was being sketched. I think they were trying to say that she was I think the story they're conjuring up here is that she parked far away so that Justin wouldn't think she was home and he would come into the house and then she would murder him in the face. I think that's what they're trying to say. Amanda said there's no just to that, Mel. Writers and journalists and thinkers are what this world needs right now. Oh, well, that's very sweet of you. It's hard to remember that. It's hard to think that way. The cameras, maybe Justin was watching her, Pimabo said. Well, he admitted that he was watching her because he had been checking the surveillance cameras on his phone to see when she was there and when she wasn't. He was definitely watching her. So maybe that's why she parked the car far away. This is perfect, Jess. This is perfect. The car parking thing is the Karen didn't take her shoes off before going into John's house of this trial. Absolutely right you are. Jenna said, did this PD have any obligation to have partnered with DCF investigator if they were removing their child? That no one's really told us that. They did, I mean, Bradel did ask Daly, I think it was, like, you have social workers at your department. You have connections to DCF. Did you think about bringing anybody? And he was like, no. That was it. That was it. So, let's see. Oh, Cynthia's going to a doctor's appointment. We wish you luck. She's been on medical leave for a year, and today she finds out if she's finally healthy and all to go back to work, we will be thinking about you and wishing you all the best and hoping if you want to go back to work, that's what happens for you. Maria said she had no idea they were coming, so who cares where her car was parked? Morons. Yes. Yes. Let's see. Jenna said, I live in South Florida, so I don't know what's what in each PD. Florida is trashy all around, but this incident was overall handled like a bunch of BS. Absolutely. But this is like, this is becoming so commonplace right now. Anytime we're in Massachusetts, and then when the Massachusetts State Police are involved, I mean, just look at the way the records were kept again with Bolsonaro. Is that his name? Bolsonaro? You know who I'm talking about. The ballistics guy for the MSP. His records were fucked up again. Like, what is wrong with these guys? Is this the part they're skipping in trooper school? Like, how to write good? Like, what are we doing here, you guys? Ugh. Chain of custody is just fucking out the window in Massachusetts. Let's see. Carby Barbie said most witnesses seemed prepared to play up their stories for a jury. The scowling at Bradel isn't necessary for this bench trial. No. And coming off that way, talking to Bradel the way she did for absolutely no friggin' reason. He was asking her questions. And she started right off the bat. It was just like, it was like just like Dever having a false memory. Cyberchick Boston, unfortunately, yes, the baby is with Justin and has been since June 30th, the day that Kelsey was shot. And just until recently, she had a no contact order placed on her by a previous judge in this case, McCarthy Neiman, in my opinion. Kelsey cannot see her own child until they go to family court, which she is now allowed to do because the no contact order was taken off of her by Judge Karp, who we're watching right now. So she hasn't seen her 4-month-old child since June 30th, 2025. And she's been in and out of prison, or not prison, but jail. She's been in and out of jail since she recovered in the hospital for 53 days and then went to jail and then was on house arrest and then was sent back to jail and then was let out and has been on house arrest. Jess said, had convo that may need to section her, but didn't bring her MH support. Yeah. If not this call, then when? Exactly. Like, she should have had mental health support there. I think a woman should have been there. A representative for the baby should have been there. And when I say a woman should have been there, I don't mean her mom. I mean a representative from the North Andover Police Department, like mental health, whatever, therapist, somebody should have been there. Oh, that's a really good idea, Amanda. You should totally do it. You're really detail oriented. I think that would be great for you. Amanda said that she's thinking about becoming a local trial watcher just to see what's up in my local courts, local police departments. Great idea. Um, Maria, in Bev Canoni voice, we don't do that here, Mr. Jackson. I don't trust my public officials these days. It's sad, scary, and crazy, Tuesday says. Agreed, sister. All right, let's see. Yeah, Pamabo said the worst moment today for me, Noonan, and he did this several times, throwing in because she tried to kill me after the whack job comment. She tried to kill me, that whack job. Yeah, because she tried to kill me. Mm, mm, mm. The last witness attended the Devers School of Commonwealth Witness Prep. Yes, yes, she did, Jess. Amanda said that breaks my heart for her. The baby won't remember, but she will remember the entire rest of her life. Yeah. Jenna said, so the parent who was recorded on multiple instances doing drugs has custody of the child. Just checking. Okay, no big deal. Yeah, that hasn't been presented yet in family court, which is why, like, Kelsey had all this. So she had like over 100 videos of Justin, like, just like hitting like the bong pretty hard. Now, I don't care if anybody smokes, but he's a firefighter. He's absolutely not allowed to do that, which is why he's now on administrative leave. This argument that some people from the anti Karen Reed people who are also anti Kelsey Fitzsimmons adjacent, not really sure why. We need to figure out what the through line is there. Have been talking about how, oh yeah, this is great, you guys. Yeah, good job, Kelsey. Now your kid doesn't have either parent working and blah 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 blah. I want to put this on the record. Justin is on administrative leave, but he is on paid administrative leave. He is not destitute. He also lives with mommy and daddy, who obviously take care of him pretty well because mom gave him gas money when he's in his like 30s. Is he in his 30s? I don't know how old he is. Doesn't matter. Mommy's giving him gas money. And not only did he smoke a lot of pot and probably took some gummies, he also is, for all intents and purposes, an alcoholic. He also was doing shrooms every once in a while, had taken pain pills from one of his cousins 5-6 times a year, and he had acid sitting in the freezer that he also used to take. So this guy, he shouldn't be a firefighter. And he also shouldn't be solely responsible and have sole custody of his child. The child that he held for like 15 or 50 seconds and then handed off to somebody else. And then when he walked into this situation, immediately handed his child to the mother. I mean, the other woman outside of Kelsey's mom, which was his sister, because obviously women, babies, the two go hand in hand. Let's see. TC Nerd said, I need a drink. Say her name. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because while we were in this stream, I just got a notification that the New Hampshire Attorney General's office is trying to completely dismiss the habeas petition that Pamela Smart's attorneys filed that I helped investigate and research, and they are trying to have the whole thing thrown out. So here we go. We're going to see what New Hampshire does here. Keep your fingers crossed. Yeah, Jess said the most heartbreaking was a story of Kelsey asking to see her baby via FaceTime before a risky surgery, and they refused her. So heartless, these people. Yeah, I'm not sure, Mary, when they go back to family court, but they are gathering all this information. Kelsey also has videos of Justin. I don't know if she has videos of Justin, but being really drunk and falling in the shower. At least she said that's what happened. I don't know if there are videos of that. And also being so drunk that he fell down the stairs. And then she does have a video of him being really drunk and getting up in her face and screaming at her. And then there's also, I want to make this clear too. Up until just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we only heard Justin's side of what happened in Bethel, Maine at the bachelor/bachelorette party. Kelsey's side is she had actually gone to bed and Justin came into the room and he was very drunk and very high and wanted to go do more drugs. And she was begging him not to do more drugs. And that's why they got into a fight. And I don't know who hit who first or what happened, but Justin says she punched him 3 times and Kelsey has a different story. So, and I will say this, when he accused her of hitting him in the text messages, which I read on my deep dive that I did last Wednesday with you all, she denied it right away in text messages. So who knows if that really happened? I don't know. I don't know. He should be subject to random drug tests while he's on paid administrative leave, Jenna. He should be. Chris says that baby's trauma of being removed from her mother will carry through their lifetime, coming from an adoptive parent of 3 from foster care. Lifelong trauma. So sad. Ugh. Viva La Eva said the first showing of their house is tonight. Send good vibes. They're super nervous. Don't be nervous. I mean, it's weird to have, I know it's weird to have strangers walking through your house and like pointing out things and picking things apart. Are you going to be home? Is it being handled by a realtor or are you handling it on your own? Got to keep the acid from going stale, I guess. Exactly, Jenna. How did he not think she had that video? Might matter in probate court. It's definitely going to matter in probate court. She also has, like I said, over 100 videos of him sneaking around the property in all these little areas where he's like trying to hide that he's smoking. He's poking smut. So we will see. Jess said this was an answer to Mary about family court. They said, I think 4/2 may be the next date, but not 100% on that. Let's see. Hey, Mary Jo Mac. I can't read the rest of it. It's gone really well. It's been very interesting. This is our second stream today. We took a break earlier and then came back after lunch. So I would suggest going back and watching the first stream from today. It appears the motto is live free, not live smart. Yes. Yes. Let's see. How did Justin not have a baby seat installed in his vehicle? Isn't it the fire department that installs baby seats? Oh man, Karma Dharma. What a point you just made. Okay, y'all. I feel like everyone's starting to come in right now, but I actually have to run because I've got to get this dog outside because she is crossing her legs. She needs a pee break. And I've got to put some food in my face. Not some murder in my face, just some food in my face. Because I haven't really eaten much today. So this was awesome. What a great crew. So happy you're here. Really appreciate you all. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the memberships. On your way out, don't forget to please like this video, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. It really helps the algorithm. And like I said before, I am, like we're a small channel here and there are a bunch of people streaming this trial. And I know you can choose, some of these bigger creators. I think Melanie Little had like 16,000 people in her stream yesterday. So I don't want to compete with anybody. I think that you should check out all those streams. I think Melanie Little is amazing. I think Laura, is amazing. Emily D. Baker, go see our friend Auntie Deb. Go check in on Emily C. Like Ian Runkle. There are so many good creators out there, but I really appreciate that you all pop in and hang out with me every once in a while. And when Rebecca's back, there's going to be lots to talk about. She's going to be gone for a few more days. But it looks like this trial is going to go through Thursday, at least. The viewing is going to happen on Thursday. The Commonwealth rests tomorrow. The defense starts putting on their case, and it sounds like closing arguments may be happening Thursday afternoon. So we will see what happens. It's been exciting so far. This is a great trial. I'm glad this was the first trial I chose to stream with you all. So you all are lovely. Thank you so much. And I will see you back here at 8:45 a.m. Or no, I won't actually. I almost said I was going to see you back here at 8:45 a.m. What I meant was I will see you back here at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and we will go back through what we missed tomorrow morning. So I will see you at 11 a.m. Please be good people. Please, don't murder anyone in the face. That's all I have to say about that. Bye.